Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small, tiny little law firm in central Minnesota. And today is very relaxed. Today we are doing a whiskey review. We will be talking about a little bit of legal news that's out there. We'll be reviewing a case that we've got, a very, very interesting case. It's to my knowledge the first case in a long time to uphold the proposition that a private citizen was justified in shooting a police officer, especially one that was largely in, well, at least arguably in commission of his duties. Very, very weird. We don't usually say that cops can be shot by citizens. Normally when that happens, someone goes to prison or a graveyard. But this is a very specific case, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the last case that I'm aware of where that happened, which was in the 1800s, I believe. And we will also be talking about the Supreme Court deciding that Georgia can't copyright its own laws. Very interesting. Seems like a regular sort of thing that if you wanted your citizenry to follow the laws, that they should be able to freely access those laws. Turns out, no, not in Georgia. Not according to Georgia, where they're like, if you want the actual copy of the laws, you're going to have to fork out a couple $100 to Lexus to do that. And that was knocked out of court. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. We'll talk about Popehat just a tiny bit, not a lot, because Popehat is an overinflated voice in the legal community, because the only people who really care about Popehat are lawyers on the internet, which is fine, by the way. Lots of lawyers are on the internet, and it's a great and important medium that lawyers need to reach into. But there's this Twitter bubble, right? Where you assume that if something's important on Twitter, it's important to everybody, because Twitter kind of has that effect of making it seem like whatever's going on. I'm sorry, I'm opening this bottle while talking, and it's very poorly designed on how they did the seal on it. So I'm using a knife and trying not to die. But it seems like when it happens on Twitter, it matters. And that's how companies act, right? Like if something happens on Twitter, then suddenly they've got to fire people, or suddenly they've got to change their policies. And it's really got an inflated sense of purpose. And that's what Ken White or Popehat is. I mean, he's a longtime internet blogger, but he's just a lawyer. He's not a special lawyer. He's not the best lawyer or the worst lawyer. He's not, he's got a good career. So he's presumably successful at lawyering, which is great, but he's still just a guy, and he's just a lawyer. He's not given like a special card that makes him an authority on anything other than what he would be an authority on if he were not on the internet at all. So he's not really in the news, but he kind of sparked a news thing over, get this very important lawyerly topic, butter. Land O'Lakes butter. And having, now Land O'Lakes no longer has a native waifu on the packaging. It now just has a lake, because it's a land with lakes. And I don't, unless the chick was named Lakes, I guess it didn't really make sense. But that was their logo forever. It got changed, and people don't like change. But then Ken White doesn't like people who don't like change. That he only change that he agrees with is permitted. and he makes a comment, and then of course someone is thrown off of Twitter by a vociferous mob of Ken White orbiters. So that's what ends up happening there, and we'll talk about that with some screenshots and stuff of people shitting on Popehat, because that's always important. That's an important thing to do. And then we've got oh, that's probably it for tonight. That's probably it for tonight. But the important thing tonight, this is, like I said, a very relaxed stream, is this. This is Filibuster Whiskey. Now, I was at the liquor store today, and I was like, I think I want to do a whiskey review stream tonight. Which whiskey should I buy? And I was waffling back and forth on a whole bunch of stuff, and then I found this bourbon called Filibuster, and I was like, oh, that's got at least a legally adjacent name. I have to try it. Plus, what I do is basically filibuster every night, right? I filibuster the slow onset of death by talking for hours. So that's the basic agenda tonight. Tomorrow night, I'm going to say this now. I'm going to say it again in about an hour. We've got kind of the maximum amount of people watching, and I'll be announcing it on Twitter. Tomorrow night, there will not be a live stream on this channel. Okay? Tomorrow night, we will have a live stream on the Rekieta Media channel, which means there will not be super chats. There will be Streamlabs or whatever, but super chats are not there. And yes, this is a relatively shameless attempt to get to the required amount of watch hours on that for the full channel monetization and activation and all that stuff. Mostly because I want a backup channel just in case, but it's that's where we're going to have a live stream. It's going to probably be a long one. That live stream will be Drexel and me, and we are going to play from the beginning Streets of Rage 4 for as long as it takes, hanging out, chatting, killing, beating things mercilessly in Streets of Rage 4. So, if you guys want to get your Streets of Rage spoilers on and watch two boomers go through the genre that we grew up with, which is beat 'em ups, and just have a good time, make some jokes, talk, and have fun, come watch. Come watch tomorrow. So that'll be on the other channel. I will put it on. I'll put the community posts. There'll be links on Twitter and stuff like that. So come join us. It should be a good time. That being said, we're about ready to try this whiskey. Let's read. So I like to read when I do these reviews. I like to read about them. You wonder who talks the most, me or my wife? Me. By a long shot. By a long shot. Although, I will say, she has her days. Where she gets into it and she will just talk and talk and talk. And they're great. I love them. I like talking to my wife quite a bit. She's funny. As you guys have seen, when she's on the stream, she's hilarious. But it's not her normal sort of routine. She's not a strong, like an extrovert. So, you know, she kind of keeps to herself a lot on things. But yeah. What else is going on this week? I don't know. I'm sure we'll have a Friday story. Oh, in just a minute, I'll do an update on the Vic appeal case. There's been some little documents that have come out, and most of you guys have seen those, but I want to make sure we just get everybody up to speed and on the same page on what has happened. And it's nothing big. It's very, very normal sort of stuff that we've been dealing with the entirety of the appeal. So I want to do that. And if you guys want this beard out of the way of my mouth, I'm going to have to ask you to petition Governor Tim Walz to lift the lockdown. Oh. So, please rename your in video to Boss Makes $1, I Make a Dime. That's why I diddle myself on company time. Oh man, I hope you haven't gone through the Mechanic Thoughts Twitter timeline. I made the mistake of doing that. It was just a disaster. And then yeah, she has a video of her rubbing a screwdriver right onto her vagina over and over. And it's like, I don't find her that attractive. So it was a little bit, it was like, seems a little try-hardy to me. And my beard is very clean. How dare you? Oh wait, I can't drink this yet. What am I doing? We've got to read the whiskey. We've got to read the whiskey. Okay. So this is the Filibuster Distillery dual cask finished straight bourbon whiskey. This is not an LGBTQ plus whiskey. This is a straight bourbon whiskey. A cis wheat male bourbon whiskey. This is batch number 25, bottle number 1333. That doesn't mean anything to me, but it exists. Filibuster Distillery is dedicated to making the finest American spirits. That means the best quality grains, limestone water from the Shenandoah Valley, and our signature dual cask finishing program that mellows spirits in traditional whiskey barrels as well as wine casks. Because if we've learned one thing from American history, sometimes you've got to bend the rules to get the best results. Some say Virginia's colonists made the first corn whiskey in North America, which means bourbon's roots are right here in Old Dominion. And Kentucky just invaded Virginia, who just gave up all their guns, so Kentucky just won. Our whiskey follows those historic footsteps by paying homage to tradition and that pioneering spirit. Filibuster bourbon is 70% sweet corn, 20% spicy rye, and 10% nutty barley. So 1/10 of this is nut. Aged less than 4 years in new charred oak casks, then we give it a dual cask spin with a secondary rest in California wine barrels, layering a fruity note atop baking spice, vanilla, and butterscotch. It's freedom of expression right in your glass. Be heard. So what you've got right here is a less than 5-year whiskey, which is fine. Bourbons do not age as long as scotches typically. And some say the Atlantic, I guess, climate in the United States, excuse me, ages it a little faster. I think they say that bourbon ages 3 times as fast as scotch or something. I don't know. It's probably just all marketing anyway. But we've got a 5-year bourbon with some French winery crap thrown in for some flavors. They made it sound kind of fancy, but a lot of whiskeys and bourbons and scotches finish in wine or sherry casks. This is not a strange thing. So there we go. I guess let's give this a sniff. Okay. It's got a little bit, it's kind of pungent. It's got a bit of that alcoholic burn to it on the sniff. Not all whiskeys do. Younger whiskeys do. We'll see. This is 45% or 90 proof, 45% alcohol. So they claim. Now we gotta do this number. Really sweet. A little bit harsh, but not bad. It's a very, very sweet whiskey. Bourbon. It's a bourbon. That's the corn coming through. But it's similar to Maker's Mark. Maker's Mark is also a very sweet bourbon. It's smooth. It's got a little bit of a burn. Oh, I didn't breathe. Hold on. The breathe is really nice. Breathing it back up right after you swallow it. That's really clean. But it does have a lingering alcoholic burn in the mouth. It's not bad. It's not harsh in any way. But you can tell that this is a liquor, if that makes sense. In the same way that you can after the harshness of a vodka is gone, you've got, like, I'm still breathing out alcohol. So that's just a young whiskey in general. That smooths out over years. This is good, though. This is very good. It's really sweet. Like, if you like Maker's Mark, Filibuster would be great. I think it's better than Maker's Mark, off the top of my head. It's less harsh. It's a little bit more refined. Good whiskey. I like it. Good job, me, picking out something based on a completely arbitrary standard and ending up enjoying it. So, go me. Way to go. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being clean wounds with it, 10 get hella drunk and smash a whale. Where's it rate? It's not a pound whiskey. Well, we're gonna do the full shot test in a little bit. Because I don't know, if you're not familiar with whiskey reviews, I tend to get a little saucy on them. So we go ahead and drink several times. This was the sipping review that we do. I'll do the shot review in a little bit, and then I'll just drink for pleasure until I'm saying stuff that's stupid and the stream ends dramatically. But it's good. So far, I would put it around a 6. I mean, this is like a $50 whiskey. That's a good place to be. Maybe that my mind might change. So I'm leaving an asterisk on how the shots go. Review the women only stuff. What's the women only stuff? I'm going to say the gamer word. 6. Well, Zeku Zeroken, he said that 10 was get just plastered and smash a whale. For me to do that, the whiskey better be amazing. Amazing. It's got to be a fantastic whiskey to really get me pounding. And that's just not going to happen. But 6 is good. 6 is good. It's right where I kind of want my $50 whiskey to be, right? It's not America bourbon. That's a 2, maybe. Fuyu, or a military special being a 3. I put military special over America bourbon and Fuyu. But it's certainly, it's also not, a 20-year Jura, for example, or 21-year Jura. Like, that's a better scotch. It also, one bottle of that costs like what 5 of these does. So that makes sense. How it should be. And get plastered and fill a whale with TNT. That we can do. Okay, let's do some super chats, and then we will go into. I guess we'll do the Vic stuff first. We'll open up with that. I think that's what I said. We'll do the Vic stuff first and just kind of marinate together for a while. I hope you guys all have glasses of whiskey too, and we can all irresponsibly drink in our in our quarantine. Where is a Dalwhinnie 25 on that scale? Whew. It's up there, man. That's in the 9. It's in the 9 to 10 range. It was a very good whiskey, and it was 50% alcohol, but it tasted like, it tasted like a 20% alcoholic beverage. It was so good. But it's like $600. So you don't want to pound it all, but you really do. You have to stop yourself from drinking too much of it. All right, here we go. Kiwi goes live. Says Virgin Trump gives everyone $1,200. Chad Rekieta gives DSP an ear infection by talking about him on a stream. Remember, Nick, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm so sad. DSP, buddy, pal. Look, of course I took some jabs at you, just some friendly stuff. What do you care? What do you care, man? I invited him very politely to come on the show. And correct, because I know that Phil does not agree with the assessment that came out Monday, right? The Phil stream. I know he does not agree with the detractors. And we had some self-diagnosed detractors. Now, all I've got about Phil are 2 sources. I've got his filings, and I've got detractors. That's about it. So I invite Phil to come on, as I do with every. If anybody comes on this show to talk about someone else, I have the expectation that at some point that other person may want to say, hey, what was said about me isn't actually accurate, and I want to make sure and get my side out. And I try, as long as that person is not like crazy, to give them that opportunity. Because I want people to get the story. I don't really care what the story is. Now, in some cases, and I'll tell you one of them. In some cases, I don't have either person on if I know there's a bunch of drama and I really don't want to get involved with that drama or make it appear like I'm favoring one side or the other. And that one was Lady Alchemy's comic book. And if you guys are in comics and Comicsgate and all of that stuff, there's some big drama between Lady Alchemy, right? Is that Martina Marcota or whatever? And her artist. And I've gotten snippets of both sides from the 2 parties, and both have basically said, hey, if you're going to cover this, I would like to tell my side of the story. And I didn't really have any of them on. That's because that was a mess. It's a mess with a lot of details. It was covered by a lot of people, and I didn't want to cover either person, mainly because I didn't really want it to look like I was giving favor to either side, because I don't know anything about that mess. And so I thought about having them on, and by the time I kind of got around to it, it's pretty much blown over from my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't I just, it just never ended up kind of coming together. So I didn't want to get involved in that one. Sometimes what could be a legal opinion could get really, really messy. Same thing with the Poole brothers, right? Tim Poole and Chris Poole. I never ended up having either of them on to do the show, and that thing kind of blew over as well, at least as far as I know. I don't know if they're still yakking about it, but I didn't really want to step into that. But when I do have someone on, and someone, reaches out and says, hey, this person said something about me and that wasn't right, I try and have them on. I've done that in the past. So happy to have Phil on. Of course, I would treat him with respect. A little joking here and there doesn't change it. And Phil can show me how to make sure the camera's turned off before the stream and all that stuff. So the invitation remains open, but he was he seemed a little salty, and then he got an ear infection, which I feel really bad for his ear infection. I hope I had nothing to do with it. Russian Bot says, sorry, Russian Bot sent this yesterday, and I didn't do a show yesterday. This was on Streamlabs, so I want to get to that as well. Russian Bot says, sorry, haven't donated before. Stream too late for my work schedule. I get up at 4 a.m. Thanks for all you do. From one Minnesotan to another, I bow to you. If you ever get to the Revere area and we ever open again, I will buy you and your wife the best ribeye ever. Well, I know where I must go now. I must go to the Revere area. I would love to do that, buddy. I didn't know there were good ribeyes in Minnesota, so I'm not cooking. I'm interested. All right. And by the way, I guess I should really quickly clarify. I still don't know what actually happened in the Lady Alchemy, Martina Marcotto, whatever, that whole situation. I don't know what actually went down other than just snippets that I've heard. And so if that thing is still like a mess, my understanding is that it's kind of largely blown over. But if people are still, if people want to hear that story, I mean, I'm not opposed to telling it. I just really want to be clear that I don't have either side. Martina's always been nice to me when I've talked to her, and the artist, you know, seems like a nice guy too. So it seems like just a business deal that went bad, and sometimes that happens. So next, Weirdo with a Cello as Lemon Lungs. You're this late and gay, you're gonna miss out on all the con sluts. Oh man, you can't miss out on the con sluts. What would you do? What'd you do if you missed out on the con sluts? Oh my god. Ace Brain 2003 says, hey Nick, during Tesla's earnings call today, Elon Musk gave a mini rant about the corona lockdown orders being fascist and the government should give people back their G-dang freedoms. 'Twas glorious to hear. Look, people are going to get tired of it really quick. And Elon, listen. Now, I'm never one to criticize someone for having partly ulterior motives, but Elon absolutely has a partly ulterior motive in that. If you don't know, Elon Musk has a clause in his ownership agreement of Tesla. And that clause is that once Tesla has a rolling 6-month average market capitalization of $100 billion, Elon Musk gets to do a stock option purchase. At today's stock price, that stock option purchase, if he were to exercise his option, buy the stock, and then sell it at today's price, would earn him somewhere along the lines of $720 to $760 million in one day with nothing. He'll just get $760 million. The rolling 6-month average for Tesla right now of market capitalization, and it has to be a consecutive 6 months, is 96 or $97 billion, right? And they're up above the 100 billion. They're like at 142 right now. But if the share price drops dramatically for whatever reason, like coronavirus, it could screw up his entire payday. So, you know, and for reference, that puts him at that puts Tesla at a higher market capitalization rate than GM and Ford and many American car dealerships. Much bigger, or car manufacturers, much bigger manufacturers have lower market cap than Tesla. Tesla is an amazingly successful company in that regard, and Elon Musk is a driving force behind it. He has he set it up so that he wouldn't get rewarded until the company became massive and big. So it's a great thing that he's done. But it also means that something like Corona, which has crushed stock prices in several sectors, as they've had to deal with shutdowns, layoffs, reduced demand, and all of that stuff. A severe cut on Tesla right now could really cripple Elon Musk's payday for a very long period of time into the future. So that's what he's going for. He wants that. He wants people to go back to work, especially in California, in those necessarily high income jobs. Who'll be willing to lease themselves, because I hear they're hard to buy right now, but lease yourself a Tesla and make sure that the demand for Tesla stays up. So he's a driving force in that. But I want to make sure people are aware that he does have a little bit of motivation to get the economy back open again. He's already rich, but man, a wealthy person will not turn down 10 grand. And they certainly won't turn down $720 million. That's why they're wealthy. Okay, back to it. But yeah, I agree. We need to give people the freedom to get open. It's a good time. Try it out. And then along with that comes smart, targeted, localized quarantines that actually reflect what's going on, shutting down companies that need to be shut down because there's outbreaks within the companies, shutting down, quarantining off old folk homes, just in general, and their staff, paying them for, some hazard pay, rather than compensating the entire country for having to take the day off or whatever. Why don't we compensate the people who are most at risk and use that compensation to reduce their overall risk? Incentivize them to do these quarantines that will take them away from friends and family and stuff like that and minimize their contacts, but also compensate them for doing that and do things in a more targeted way. I think that's the goal. And again, going back to the Spanish flu, that's kind of what we found. We found cities who were reacting rather than whole states reacting. And I think that's the important thing to do, is to bring this down yet another level of government and let people do that management in the cities. And that's what they did in California at the start before the state shut down. That's what they did in Texas before the state shut down. And that's in some of these states, right? California, Texas, anywhere in the Midwest or West, there's a lot of land between these towns and a lot of rural communities that aren't really impacted in the same way. And we should be cognizant of that. We shouldn't base the entire country's policies or entire state's policies even on how New York City is, because most cities in the United States are not New York. They're just not. And we need to recognize that. We need to be smarter than gearing everything towards one type of population or one type of city. So that's just me. Oh, and if you whiskey review streams are rant streams as well. So I'm just going to pontificate. Haven't even finished this one. All right. Blaze DMP says, "Hey Nick, how's your day been?" Great. Really good. Actually, it's really hard for me to wake up this morning. Early afternoon. I do this thing. I don't know if you guys do this. I wake up in the morning and I am like wide awake. But I'm like, hey, I didn't sleep very long and I don't want to get up. And I'm on lockdown, so I don't need to get up. So then I kind of lay there, close my eyes, go back to sleep, and then it's like 4 hours later and I'm dead and I can barely move, like I'm dragging myself out of bed. That's the worst. That was my morning. I went to bed. I did a late Twitch stream. I went to bed around 5 something. Oh no, it was 5. was like 5:15 when I got off Twitch and I went up and went to bed. And I woke up at 10 and I was like, man, I feel great. But why the hell would I want to get up now? Poof, back to sleep. Then it's 1 o'clock and I'm like, why am I exist? Oh, it's rough. It's rough. Favorite or top 3 Islay whiskey? I mean, my favorite is Lagavulin. Probably 16. It's just such a good go-to bottle. It really is. But it fights with the 12. So I'll put Lagavulin 12 or 16 on top, depending on how much punishment I want. Next, I will go Bowmore 15 Darkest as my next Islay whiskey. That is, I love it. It's not very peaty, but I just like the flavor. And then third, I guess we'll go with a Lafroig. Looking at my shelf here. Probably a Lafroig. Although is Jura Islay whiskey? I think it is. It's really good. I've had Kilchoman, but it was just a sample. I want a full bottle of good Kilchoman. They had a crappy bottle at my liquor store, but yeah, that's the order I'm gonna go with is Lagavulin, Bowmore 15, specifically the 15 Darkest is my favorite, and then on to Lafroig. There you go. Eric Stein says, "Hey Nick." Oh, wait. I never finished Blaze DMPs. I just got stuck on the How's Your Day bin. He says, "Kind of miss Ronversations." Well, man, when the content's there, it's there, and when it isn't, it isn't. Right now, it's not there. Because it's funny. By the way, what's your take about Vince McMahon currently being sued by XFL Commissioner Oliver Luck and WWE shareholders suing Vince and other executives? You know, I've heard of the two cases. I haven't read into them. I don't know. Could be very interesting. I'd have to look at it. Eric Stein says, "Hey, Nick, have a good night. I got to be up early to drive back from Washington State to Texas with food. P.S. Oregon's nice this time of year." Yeah, I'm sure it is. Have a good, safe drive, buddy. Hope everything goes well for you. Stooge Muffin Stuffin says, "Can you play Streets of Rage Remake on your second channel?" Yeah. I'm probably going to do some more game stuff on the second channel. I just haven't figured out how I want to do it or what the focus of the content will be. And right now I do most of my gaming on Twitch, but there'll be some second channel shenanigans coming soon. Sakaki Onsai says, "Today was a great day. 1, Mike Flynn unsealing shows he was set up by a corrupt FBI. 2, Orange County, California opening fully May 1st despite Governor Joel Osteen's decree to close the state beaches and parks. 3, more whiskey, #woohoo. Very cool. Andrew Bin says, "Love your content, brother." Hey, thanks, man. "Stay strong and keep being a good dad and husband, not being sarcastic." Hey, I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. I do try to be good at both of those things. Clown Shoe says, "Nick, can you please ask Dan watching the stream to help me find my shoes? He claims Shane Holmberg was rummaging around my mailbox last weekend, but I know he stole them. Dan, will you please help Clown Shoes find his shoes?" Fuzzy989 says, "Just got a bottle of Lagavulin Distillers Edition for my birthday. Got to say it's probably now my favorite whiskey. I've never had their Distillers Edition. I saw a Distillers Edition Oban today. I almost bought it. But I want to try the Lagavulin Distillers." Awesome Robot says, "This is for the best $20 shot. Pray for us in our California Second Amendment rights." We're going to talk about that too, probably. That's a very interesting thing that's going on in California. California has a required background check on ammunition. A district court judge shot it down as unconstitutional. They have appealed it, and the appeals court has put a stay on removing the background check requirement pending the outcome of the appeal. So that's a very interesting happening in California. They said a lot of people were saying years ago that it's not the guns. They're going to lose going after the guns. They're going to start coming after the ammo or the components for the ammo. Regulating copper, regulating gunpowder or saltpeter or whatever it takes just to keep the guns from being as useful. I am not wearing jorts. How dare you? I am wearing shorts. I'm wearing athletic shorts because who cares? Ryan Thornton says, do you think Kick Vic crew is starting to sweat after the developments in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case? Now that it's come to light, she lied through her teeth in an attempted weaponization of Me Too. No, I don't think they're going to sweat about it at all. I think the moment they start to sweat in any capacity, remember, most of these people are just virtue signaling idiots. Like, I have to point that out. You can go through law Twitter. Such a joke. You can go through their profiles and you can find a very common theme amongst the people talking about the Vic case. And it's a political bent or ideology that is pretty common between all of them. Almost without exception. And once you do that, you realize that woke is their philosophy. And Amber Heard she'll just be written off as a detractor to the philosophy. But, the prophet who murders children just wasn't actually a prophet. That's the problem with the religious dogma, right? The religious dogma will prevent them from accepting the reality that Me Too is a bludgeon that is improperly used by people seeking leverage or power over someone else. And so the bad actors that are identified and exposed will just be written off for the bad actors they are, but the purity of the movement will always, always remain because it is religion for them. So that's so no, I don't think they're sweating on it. If it gets past appeal, some of them will sweat. I will just laugh. I mean, that's what's going to happen. If it gets past appeal, I will just laugh over and over and over. I don't know if it's going to get past appeal. I've got no way to, even predict that outcome because I see good arguments for the appeal. And I see a very reasonable chance that judges aren't going to overturn a lower court judge. So I see both. And I don't know which way it's going to go. I don't know anything about the judges that they've got. I don't even know who they have, much less how they rule. And so, I don't know how it's going to go. I know some people are very confident in the outcome. I have never put forth that position. I will say that, in going through some documents, I found some interesting things over the past couple days. I found a flat out lie in Maronica's document where they actually lie to the appeals court. I really hope that Vic's team capitalizes on that lie. The problem with it is the lie, it's not a major issue by itself, but lying to an appeals court is a major issue. That's a deal. And it's a demonstrable lie. Like, okay, there are lots of lies in the documents. All right. We were having this discussion in my Discord for Live Chat Wednesdays. By the way, if you want access to that, $5 a month on Patreon or New Project 2, or you can do the $10 a month channel membership on YouTube. Those are the three ways you get access to the Discord. And if you want to talk on Live Chat Wednesdays, it's 10 and all of that stuff. There you go, Keck. I'm so bad at advertising it, but I have done it for you. There are a lot of lies. The problem with it is you can't insert evidence that's outside of the record, right? So you only have the record to work with, and that's only the documents that were filed and then included in the record. The second problem with it is, like, the judges aren't down with the lore. So, of course, there are lies. Of course. But some lies are provable to a judge with no knowledge of the case in the record. And they're provable on the face of the documents and on what's in the record. And I found one of those in Monica and Ron's paperwork today. And I'm looking through for more. And I may do a video on it at some point. But we'll see. I don't want them to, wouldn't want them to catch it. That would be a shame. They changed it. Funnier to see if it gets brought up by the other party. But I'll be going through them for more. It just going through those documents makes me want to eat Tide Pods, and because they're infuriating. So this one's a good one though, and a lack of candor to the court is a good violation, and it does actually have a material impact on the outcome of the appeal. So it's possible that would be something the court would really want to look at, but it all remains to be seen. I don't know. Decker Ramirez says, rather ask during a Weeb War stream, but my question may not be as fresh by then. On a scale of 1 to 10, how plausible is the idea of Funny keeping Marky despite her woman lion-y attitude? Feminist attitude, is that what? Because if they fired Marky, she'd rat out folks at Funny in retaliation. I think that Marky and Rial's time at Funimation is directly related to the length of this lawsuit. So if as long as this lawsuit has any activity going and Funimation is involved in it, I think Marky and Rial stay employed with Funimation. I think it's very possible that the moment Funimation is out, serious talks occur about Marky and Rial's prolonged employment, and there could be some sort of firing. Now I know Marky has scrubbed her Funimation from all of her stuff, from her LinkedIn, from her Twitter bio, and all of that. I don't want to say that Funimation got rid of her. I don't think they will get rid of her during the pendency of the suit, but they may have asked her to disassociate because of her stupid school shooter tweet, because she's a dumb fucking bitch. I mean, that's the problem that they've got. But they know she's a dumb fucking bitch. They know she is. They know she's terrible. It's not new, but she got a lot of attention from that. And Funimation doesn't like that kind of attention, especially when Funimation is at a time where people are probably cutting subscriptions due to Corona-chan. People are probably... Well, anime is not being made at the same rate right now because Japanese studios are shut down and things just aren't there for them to actually dub in many cases. So Funimation's had to slow down. Everybody's had to slow down. The money's not coming in the same way that it normally does. They're impacted by this. And some of their retailers that sell Funimation DVDs are also not selling DVDs because they're closed in some states. So what they don't need is someone riling up an entire crowd with a stupid tweet about school shootings and, causing more potential loss. So I think that it's very possible that Funimation just said, hey, take our, you're fine. Just take your stuff. Take us off your stuff for a little bit so we can reduce the amount of heat we're getting. Not that they would ever do that to a non-employee. That's just ridiculous. But they know these people. She's been a pile of trash for a long time. So, what did she say about school shootings? She said that basically conservatives, she said they, but the idea was conservatives or gun rights activists want to reopen schools because they want school shootings so they can sell more guns. That's a paraphrase of the tweet. I don't have it handy. I could find it. We can put this up on stream. What am I doing? We have the technology for this. Hold on. Especially because I tweeted it, so it's not hard for me to find it all. Let's see. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Too much tweeting. Oh my goodness. Oh, we can just use this one. There we go. All right, not what I wanted. Thank you, Windows 10. There we go. Oh no, we still got the thought picture up. Get rid of it. Here's what she tweeted. They need the kids back in school so there will be school shootings again. That way they can sell more guns. Look, I don't care how you feel about Second Amendment stuff. That's a bad look when you're representing a company that appeals outside of the political agenda, right? Funimation is not a political company. No matter how much woke you want to insert in it, because no one will insert things in you, Funimation doesn't want to be involved in politics, because involving themselves in politics is necessarily damaging to the brand. It's removing the appeal to roughly half your audience. So if you, and the same thing would be true if she came out with a bunch of like pro-Trump stuff. Anime fans, like comic book fans, don't want politics in anime. And damn it, I'm gonna have to do it. Escapism necessarily requires escape to exist. We want to go away from society for 30 goddamn minutes and watch a show with a big titty waifu piloting a ninja mech with missiles. Why is that so damn hard? I don't need to recognize the sins of America's past as missiles are flying out of the cock of a giant robot. I don't ever need it. I just want to watch missiles flying out of orifices of robots. That's all. And then I want another robot that's a ninja with an energy sword to dodge those missiles and to chop the other robot in half. I don't need to know about the colonization of the Philippines by the United States in the mid-1800s when we had a third-tier navy. I don't care. I don't care how America exploited the Japanese industrialization for the benefit of American companies. It doesn't matter to me when I'm watching ninjas throw daggers with hand grenades attached to them into villains. That's the purpose of escapism, is to get away from all of the shit that I have to deal with on a regular day and just relax and learn something about humanity in some way that is completely divorced from all of the baggage that it takes years and years and years of hammering education to indoctrinate into children. I don't want that. I want to remove that to learn something about the psychology of people. And that's what escapism is. It doesn't matter if it's anime, a comic book, a video game, a book, a movie, a TV show. Your ability to strip away certain things lets you focus on one thing. That's what sci-fi does in general. We get rid of the conventions of society to figure out how humans interact without those things. And explore it, and explore what makes humans act in what ways towards different people. Explore in what ways humans are acceptable with sacrificing people for quote unquote the greater good. And I apologize, I'm watching The 100 with Lady Rackets right now. So I don't know if you guys have watched The 100, but it was about following like some nuclear holocaust. There's a bunch of people up in a space station like 100 years later, and they're running out of oxygen. So they gotta try and send people down to Earth, but Earth's supposed to be irradiated for another 100 years. So they don't know what to do. So they send down a bunch of criminal children. Great. Good plan. Stupid plan, but fine. So they send down a bunch of criminal children. But the idea is suddenly we've got 100 kids coming out of an authoritarian needs-based regime put into a place where there is zero authority other than what they make. No rules, no parents, nothing, and with no contact to the authority itself. How do they interact? What kind of society do they build? Obviously tribalistic. Very interesting interactions going on between people. Like the social mores don't manifest in the same way. So you get to explore these different facets of humanity by removing all the stuff. Now, if I had to hear about how Wells being black was culturally repressed 600 years prior to this event in a world he never knew, it wouldn't make any sense. Of course, he's like the first guy to die because he's black. Like, we knew that was going to happen. That's still true. But if we had to delve into the racial backstory of this guy, it's literally unimportant to the show because it would have been unimportant to the people on the space station. It didn't matter. So they just don't focus on it. But if they would have had to inject that in there because of some woke culture, it would have ruined the entire purpose of the show. Race isn't a factor on it. At least not yet. It probably will be. But it's more important between the authority and the working class on the space station. That's a much more interesting dynamic than a racial one. And we get to learn about that. So anyway. That was a long rant. But if you want more of that, I don't know why anybody wants to hear me bitch about media. But if you want more of that, that's what I will be talking about in upcoming panels at conventions. So if you like it, that's going to be the focus of my panel appearances, is what escapism is, the importance of it, and why woke has nothing to do with escapism. It's the destruction of escapism. Because if your escape looks the same as your reality, you don't escape and you go crazy. All right, Lane K 1978 says, have any thoughts on the Illinois District Court issuing a limited temporary restraining order against the governor's extended stay-at-home order? Yes, I do. There's also a second case here that has been filed seeking an order that would apply more widely. Yeah, absolutely. We're starting to see it. These stay-at-home orders are unconstitutional. They just are. I don't know how else to say it. They restrict your core freedoms. They're overly broad. They're not narrowly tailored to affect their purpose. Just because a governor says, well, we have to restrict everything, doesn't mean that they're narrowly tailored to avoid otherwise protected or okay activity. They're going to wrap up. They have to. Because they don't have time to craft a narrowly tailored solution. They don't have two houses of the legislature debating over how to narrowly tailor the solution. They don't have reliable data. So they can't be constitutional. It's almost impossible. Now, we may let some of them slide, but the point of emergency power orders isn't constitutionality. It's immediate effectiveness. And this gets lost in the details of these discussions and in my rants on them. This gets lost. Look, just because an order is unconstitutional doesn't mean it's not temporarily effective. That's fine. Like, you can have an unconstitutional order attain a short-term result very effectively. And we've done that forever. The question is, do we get a court to come out and say, hey, that was unconstitutional? It doesn't mean the governor goes to jail. It doesn't mean, frankly, sometimes, people's opinions on Lincoln can differ, but Lincoln took extra constitutional authority and exerted it. And the only reason he's exonerated is because the North won. and the North won, and Lincoln won, and therefore he preserved the Union, and that means that he got to rewrite how everything worked. But Reconstruction was largely unconstitutional as the Constitution was understood prior to the Civil War. Same thing now. You can have a governor do the unconstitutional act, and it can be the right move. And it can temporarily grant the relief that we want and achieve the results that you want. And we can even have a court come out and say, that was unconstitutional. Can't do that. And the governor can go ahead and say, it was, but it was also right. And now I can't continue doing the unconstitutional thing, but the crisis has been averted. Miracle. It's amazing how this works. It's almost like our system has kind of a built-in ability for our governing body to be wrong, but be corrected over a period of time. And once that correction comes into play, that's the check on power. The problem is when we accept the unconstitutional thing as not only right, but also allowable. And then the power is never checked, and then it goes on. That's the bad scenario. That's the scary thing. And to get there, to get to the good scenario where, okay, we got the result, it was temporary, and now the courts and the legislature comes in and says, okay, we got to rein this back in. That's the correct outcome. That correct outcome requires people screaming all over the country that this is wrong and needs to stop, because it does need to stop. Can you imagine? Imagine COVID goes away, but they're like, what? We don't know when another virus is coming. We're going to keep this going forever. Nobody thinks that's right. Even if you 100% agree with the way the COVID virus has been handled by any given place, nobody thinks we should continue this forever, even after the viral threat is gone, right? I don't think. There could be someone out there. But the overwhelming majority don't think that. Even if the majority think that these are the right actions. So you have to have the people screaming from the sidelines saying, hey, this isn't right. And then you have to have the checks on power come in and say, no, this isn't right. We have to end this and go back to how it was. Like the governor of Virginia telling us to stay at home from his beach house in North Carolina. Forfeit the beach house, governor. Forfeit it. All right. Frederick Little. Yes, we'll probably look up a news story on that. I've got a different thing to talk about the Illinois governor. Where did I see this thing? First of all, that guy looks like a walking buffet nightmare. I don't know if you guys have seen him, but that guy looks absolutely terrible. Let me see. I think someone sent me. He was caught, not caught, so to speak. He was on was it on Twitter that I got it? Damn it. I'll find it. He was caught on camera, the Illinois governor, asking about his wife violating the stay-at-home order. Did you guys see that? The Illinois governor, that fat pile of turkey, his wife was violating the stay-at-home order that he's enforcing. And his response was, well, we used to not bring families into this. My wife doing this has nothing to do with blah, 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 blah. It's like, what? You know, it has everything to do. Oh, God, I got to find it. I got to find it real quick. Oh, what a fatso. Let me see. Oh my goodness. Where was it? Man. I'll have to find this thing. Where? Apparently, is there a cuckold simulator on Steam? Is that a real thing? Does anybody know? Someone sent me a picture of it, but I don't know if that's edited. Oh, here it is. Lone Eagle sent it to me on Twitter. Let me pull it up here. Look at this. Look at this disgusting display of a human. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Cuckold Simulator. Maybe I'll make Drex play that on stream. I have to check it out and see if it's too lewd. We can't do it. So here we go. Here we go. Let's I'll zoom this in. I'm sorry automatically for putting this look at that specimen of a man. Oh yeah. Who wouldn't want to be with that guy? Let me make sure the volume's up for you guys here. Nope. Hold on. I gotta make sure I'm on the right audio source too. Oh my god, why am I so bad at operating Streamlabs? Okay, we're good. Here it goes. Streamlabs.
Says, where's the First Lady? Is she accompanied by a state security detail? Has she engaged in non-essential travel? What is your response to people who say the stay-at-home order and non-essential travel bans aren't being abided by your family? I believe there's a report from Illinois Rising Action that says that she recently traveled to Florida.
Well, first of all, I want to say that in politics, it used to be that we kept our families out of it. You know, my official duties have nothing to do with my family.
What?
So I'm just not going to answer that question. It's inappropriate, and I find it reprehensible, honestly, that reporter wrote a story about it.
Reprehensible? This isn't about anything personal at all. This is about his wife taking a trip to Florida when it's literally illegal for people to do so in the state of Illinois. It's not like they're making fun of his wife. They were respectful about how they asked the question. It's not like they were criticizing, you know, something that she does or a hobby, criticizing her hair or anything like that. Nothing talking about how she's a murderer or anything like that. No salacious accusations. Just, yeah, she left, she went to a different state, which is against the order. For everybody else, that would be illegal. What's she doing?
Well, I find it reprehensible that this didn't come with a sandwich.
Oh my God. These are the people who rule over us. I mean, remember, these are the people telling you it's not safe to go to a grocery store. Safe for them, though. It's always safe for them. Oh, I'm supposed to do this as a shot. Here we go. Let me add a little. Let me refill the shot line here. Uh-oh. It might get spicy soon. Woo! All right. This is a disaster of an idea. So I don't know if you guys know, I tweeted it out and I shared it on the YouTube community page. I was on a show earlier tonight. We were discussing rights. We were discussing the idea of a free state. It was not rooted in COVID talk. There was a mild amount of it. I know people are kind of tired of COVID talk. I am too, frankly. But it's the news cycle, so it's hard to avoid. But it was a general question about what a free state actually means in the context of the Constitution. It was a really good discussion. I encourage you guys to go check it out. But I did have 2 drinks of whiskey on that show as well. So if I seem a little bit saucier than normal from just a small amount of whiskey, I'm a couple deep already. So this is I think this is about a shot. We'll go with. It's less than I normally do, but what I normally do is too much. fill the cup and gulp it down, I would die. Here we go. Here we go. That was phenomenal. Whoa. I'm stunned. That is a great shooting whiskey. That is fantastic. I normally am not a fan of the whiskey shot. One, I think if you're drinking whiskey, you should just, if you normally need to shoot it, you probably don't want to drink it. Like if you have to, you should always just be comfortable sipping the whiskey. And if you're going to be spending that much, you should sip it. This is fantastic for taking shots. That was completely smooth. My mouth was full of whiskey. Swallowed it down. No problem. No burn. Cleared out my sinuses. The aftertaste is the same as a sip. That was great. That was a great sip, shot of whiskey. Whew. It's not cheap. Well, it's cheap for the quality, yeah. I mean, it's about $50. It's kind of, it's a mid-high tier bourbon for just what's at your normal liquor store. A lot of bourbons, you're talking about $10-15 cheaper than this. But it's really, that was quite pleasing. JCF Data says, have a good night, Nick. Really want to watch live, but have to be up in 5.5 hours. Hey, good night, buddy. Hope to see you again soon at some point. Will be fun. Good luck waking up. Frederick Little says, hey, Nick, hope all is well with you, Lady Rackets, and the rest of the family during this quarantine. We are great. We're all healthy, and there's literally nothing anyone could ask for more than health, right? Like that's what you want when the world is sick and you are not. That's a good place to be. Mainly my kids, man. I don't want them to get sick. I hate having sick children. I can be sick. I'll just whine like a bitch for a while and drink some soup, right? Soup broth or whatever. And then I'll get over it. My kids, I hate seeing them sick. The young ones especially, they don't understand why they get sick and why it's so horrible. I hate it. So we're good. We're good. Keep up the great work with your content, and I hope to meet you again someday at another con. Hey, me too. If you want to meet me at a con, and if you're hankering to go to a convention, let me just say, go to Anime Matsuri in Houston in July. Go there. Anime Matsuri. It's in July. Go. San Diego Comic-Con is closed. Anime Expo is closed. Their governor shut them all down. Anime Matsuri is not closed. Go there. It's huge. It's fun. I'll be there. I will maybe be doing a panel, but even if not, I'll be there. And just come find me and hang out. We'll play Warhammer. We'll get drinks. We'll go to Papados. We'll take a 2-mile trip to Ninfa's. I don't care. We'll eat all the skirt steak in the city. Go to Matsuri. Buy the damn Matsuri. Buy the tickets. Go. Visit. Have fun. If you're a convention-going person. If you're a convention-going person, go to Matsuri. You're not going anywhere else this year. Go to Matsuri. I don't know if they're inviting Vic or not. I'm going to Matsuri. Come visit me. That'll be fun. Plus, all sorts of good food in downtown Houston. Great place. It's going to be huge this year. It's going to be bigger than last year. And it should be really, really cool. Where else are... Oh, someone asked what the whiskey was. It's a filibuster Filibuster bourbon. Filibuster Distillery straight bourbon whiskey. So hopefully that answers your question on that. Malik Foxon says, you probably shouldn't mess with that simulator, Nick. Couple people reported keyloggers on it, but basically you're watching your wife get railed while hiding under a table and in a closet drinking boomer juice and jacking it. That's so funny. Ah, that's a great concept for a game. Ah. Oh my goodness. So I want to address this chat that came in on Streamlabs for a very specific reason. Short Round. Hey, thanks, buddy. How's it going? It's just popping in to say, remember your freedoms. Remember that if they take your rights because of a pandemic, you didn't have rights, you had permissions. Hashtag his name was Duncan Lemp. Visit uprisearmory.com for your anti-yeet armor. freedomluau.com for fun. Short Round. Today on Live Chat Wednesday, we had a request to have Short Round back in the server. So if you're still there, buddy, contact me. I'd like to talk to you. I want you back in the server too. I miss you. I miss having you around. And I really would like to talk to you about it. Okay, Short Round is great. I need more stories about shooting people in the dick. And no, he wasn't banned from the server or anything like that. So, just so we're clear. All right, let's get into which story should we do first? Let's do the I'm overdue for announcing this. Tomorrow night, for all you people who have joined since the beginning of the stream, you guys didn't see this. Tomorrow night, there will not be a stream on this YouTube channel, but there will be a stream. It will just be on the other YouTube channel, the Rekieta Media channel. Make sure if you haven't subscribed, you don't have to subscribe. I would appreciate it if you do, but if that's not your type of content, that's fine. If you're not going to subscribe, just go watch the live stream tomorrow. It will be Drexel and I. We will be playing Streets of Rage 4, which launches tomorrow. I'm not sure what time, but we are going to give it a serious go. It depends on when he gets here. When he gets here, we get settled in and get dinner and stuff arranged. We will play Streets of Rage 4. We are going to attempt to beat the game. We will only play it on the hardest difficulty because there's no other difficulty to play it on. That's what we're going to do. So it will be all fun. There's no monetization on the other stream. Although shameless plug, that's why I'm doing the live stream over there, is to get to the requisite amount of watched hours to get monetization on that channel, because I want to have a backup channel in case something happens to this one. That being said, we're going to do the stream over there. There will be no super chats. You can do Streamlabs if you want, but that's not the purpose of the stream. It's just come, hang out. We will be just chilling, playing games, making fun of stuff, cracking jokes, and talking. There's not going to be an agenda or anything like that. Come hang out. We'll try and be very responsive with the chat. Maybe I can get Lady Rackets to come for part of it and help us with the chat and stuff like that. But we're going to be beating guys up. That's it. Just Coom. Coom and watch. Watch and Coom. Like the cuckold simulator. So it should be fun. Fun times. I will be playing Max Thunder, the giant, hilarious character from Streets of Rage 2 that has been notoriously absent since then. Okay, so next thing we're doing, let me get this loaded up. We've got, where is it? Get this article pulled up first. And then we can maybe take a look at the ruling. This is a very, very weird, very, very narrow ruling from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Hashtag based Fifth Circuit. That is the Texas Court of Appeals. I mean, not just Texas, but it's the one that includes Texas. So it's pretty based and red-pilled. Speaking of based and red-pilled, did you guys see de Blasio's tweet about the Jews? Well, the Jews, we're going to have to talk about your activities. They're very naughty. The mayor of New York would like to break up your gatherings. Maybe put you in the train cars. Did we forget the Vic stuff? Oh, we did. We did. I'll do it quickly. Sorry, I've been rambling for over an hour. Vic stuff is simple, okay? A while back, this is, like I said, really, really basic stuff. A while back, Vic's team filed to have their cross appellees brief response date extended from April 20th to May 20th. Now, I contend that filing covered all of their response brief, because I think they may only do one response brief. I don't know. They might ask for a word extension, or they might ask for multiple briefs, but largely their briefs are going to be pretty similar arguments for all of the parties. I mean, all of the parties say basically the same thing. And so addressing the various points of those parties generally will probably be able to be done in one brief, one reply brief, and then they'll have separate sections for the specific claims of each person. But the general claims about the timeliness of filing the second amended petition, the validity of the amended, the unsworn declarations and all of that argument is generally the same. So repeating it in 3 separate briefs just puts a lot more words in front of the court than needs to be there. So they will probably, if I had to guess, be doing a single brief on that, and maybe just either get, I don't know how many words their general arguments would take, but they may need to get, if they get, separate reply briefs, it'll probably just be for those specific sections. And I think they would probably just ask to have that in one document rather than having 3 repetitive documents. That's just my thoughts. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. You could theoretically do it both ways. I don't know what they're going to choose, but either way, from that filing, I got the idea that they were probably just going to do one brief and address all 3. However, to clear up any confusion, it seems they have filed a follow-up and clarified that that was not intended to just cover the cross appellees brief in regards to Monica Rial and Ron Toye, but it's also intended to cover the reply briefs for Jamie Markey and Funimation as well. And so all of those reply briefs are due on May 20th. However they structure them. If it's in one brief, if it's in 3 briefs, it'll all be due on May 20th now. The court has approved this, and it seems like they had gotten approval from everybody. These were unopposed motions, and they had conferenced with everyone according to their jurat. So that's the update. May 20th is the day that we will see a response or a reply brief from Vic's team. So that is the Vic update. With that, let's go ahead and remind people that we are really close to $280,000 on this GoFundMe, which still exists. $279,842. Thank you very much to Teresa Burns, Anonymous, Alex Moretti, Brandon Estevez, Christina H, Anonymous, and as you guys know, I am Anonymous, Shea Mueller, Christina Sarley, Ryan Heath, Anonymous, Malik Foxon, Anonymous, Roger Bjornrud, George Kovic Jr., Anonymous, Mike Arona, Timothy Hopewell, Anonymous, Andrew Gluck, Anonymous. Gosh, I'm donating a lot. Will Stevenson, Anonymous, Mark Hoover Jr., Anonymous. So thank you all for your very generous donations. I have not talked about the GoFundMe in several days because we haven't really been covering Vic's stuff. But since I'm covering very briefly the updates on when things will be happening, that being May 20th. So approximately 21 days from now, we will see their reply. I will probably be talking about it more as it comes up. Look, the costs don't stop. The reply, all of this stuff, all of this appeal stuff is expensive. It takes work. They brought in another firm to help out with appeals and all of that. So, you know, there's still costs going up. Vic could still use your support. I'm not shilling it hard, and I haven't been for a long time, because what I want to see happen is I want to see the appeal go through before I really, really focus on it. Because, you know, I know times are tough. I know people are out of work and all of that stuff. So I don't want to ask people to donate. But if you are secure, if you maybe have continuing work or other income or whatever, and you are good, and you want to support Vic, the GoFundMe still exists as a way to do so. That's where I will leave it. But I would always encourage you, always, from the start through the finish, take care of you and your family first before you support me, before you support Vic, before you give any money to an e-thought or anybody else. Make sure your own financial situation is in order. That is the most important thing I can ever stress. So that's that. Yeah, and Eagle Loan, I am thinking of doing the raffle sooner, really soon. Actually, I want to kind of have the raffle leading up to that May 20th thing. So I was thinking about that just yesterday, actually, for the knives. So I'll be figuring out a way to do that very soon. All right, back into the stories of the legal news. Geld Walker, damn it. He says, all right, Nick, I'm bouncing. Need to heal up from earlier from the hospital. Stay safe, mate. Did you watch the Quartering's apology after he screwed up over the thought in your vid on it? The funniest thing ever. No, I haven't watched it. I heard, look, I know that Jeremy made his video about the mechanic thought, and he had not seen my video on it at the time. And a bunch of people, by the way, thank you guys for mentioning to him. Jeremy and I are, you know, we're friendly, talk from time to time, and he's always been really nice to me. And I try to be nice back. I'm a cordial motherfucker. Right? I'm a cordial and polite person. You know what? Side rant. Jeremy can wait. Listen, Hambone, you can wait a minute. The worst thing about losing my Twitter account. Why am I not friends with Sargon? I don't know. He won't talk to me. I don't have any problem with Sargon. I like him. I like to make fun of him a little bit too, but I like to make fun of my friends. He's not special. I used to watch Sargon's show all the time. I don't now because I don't watch anything other than Major Kill. By the way, Major Kill released a video today about is Roboot Gilliman banging Yvrain. Hilarious. That guy he's one of the funniest people on YouTube. But you're distracting me. Not detracting. You're not a detractor, you're a distractor. Distractors. The worst thing about losing my Twitter. Let me put this down now. I am nice to people until they are assholes to me. And the worst part about losing my Twitter is I can't go back to these fucking garbage heaps on Law Twitter and show them I was nice to them and deferential and respectful until they were absolute fucking cockbags to me first. And that's what pisses me off. That's what pisses me off, because these shitheads get to rewrite history and act like I was mean to them. No, I didn't lose the new account. It's my original one. These people act like I was mean to them or making fun of them from the start. No, actually, I was nice. I was nice. I made offers to talk to people. I wanted constructive criticism, and they treated me like dirt. And so then I was like, okay, fine. So I returned the favor, and now somehow I'm the mean guy. But, okay, we're usurping this story. We're usurping this story a little bit. I'm the mean guy, but let's take a look at this, shall we? Let's take a look at this, because this is relevant. This is how these pieces of shit on law Twitter are. This explains it, or this demonstrates it. This is how they are. Okay? So, here is Gracie, Chief Fun Officer. No more Night Owl. Okay? I don't know anything about Gracie. I know nothing about this person. Says, Land O'Lakes can kiss this butter buyer's ass. My family has been a Land O'Lakes family since I can remember. No more. I'm fine with store brand from here on out. Your virtue signaling lost you some good customers who were always willing to pay more for your product. And they have the Land O'Lakes with the native chick. And then now they've got store-bought butter over here. Right? Now, Popehat. Hypothesis, the more you call people snowflakes, the more likely it is you are incensed at butter right now. Now notice, she didn't say anything about snowflakes or whatever. But as a result of this, we get this. On. Just, and I know TMZ, I know, garbage company, but TMZ being TMZ has covered this story. New change sparks outrage, kiss this butter buyer's ass. And Land O'Lakes changed from this to this. But look, TMZ even made a big branding change. And one woman's utter and ridiculous fury at the move has caught the attention of the internet, which is churning up joke after joke. Yuck, 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 yuck. Churning? 'Cause it's butter! Get it? Get it, you white racist? It's butter, so they're churning it. You might have heard about the company removing the image of a Native American woman and holding a box of butter from the logo. And simply having the surrounding lakes and trees instead, which was seen by some as a progressive step forward and long overdue. So they're already admitting that this has progressive roots, right? Of course, the pendulum swings both ways, with many people getting astoundingly pissed about the pivot to PC culture, including one Twitter user who had some choice words. Look, she didn't like it. She's allowed to say that. The lady's tweet, which has resurfaced and since gone viral, reads in clear terms, blah, blah, blah. There's even more outrage. She goes on to say, your virtue signaling lost you some good customers who are always willing to pay more for your product. Bye-bye, lol. The lady also included a pic of the old Land O'Lakes butter as well as a shot of her cart with a ton of the generic store brand stuff, which she apparently bought. Okay, geez, point made. Now, let me point this out. She has 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 boxes of butter. I buy 4 boxes of butter at a time. Easily. A box of butter is 4 boxes of family mac and cheese. That's it. That's 4 dinners. And that's if you use the butter for nothing else. If your kids use butter for sandwiches or you make grilled cheeses, if you have more than 2 people in your damn house, that's 4 boxes of butter is nothing. That's barely enough. That's maybe 2 weeks. Maybe. She's got 4 things of Greek yogurt. That goes farther than 4 boxes of butter. Anyway. That's not that much. But it's TMZ. These are all single people living in LA or whatever. Back to it. Gelth Walker, that's 4 sticks of butter per box. So that's 16 sticks of butter. That's it. That's really, for a family, that's not that much. If you have a couple kids, I mean, that's the only butter we use. We don't use like any butter spreads or anything like that. It's just butter. So yeah, we go through butter like crazy. All right. Now Twitter found this and is having a field day, with many people pointing out that to identify oneself and your brood as a Land O'Lakes family is interesting in and of itself. But there are even more takes that are coming from this, including cracks at Land O'Lakes itself. Yeah, so this one's kind of funny. My dad really snapped with this whole Land O'Lakes thing. So they got the butter chick and then they got no butter. Finally got rid of her but kept her land. That's great. That's a funny joke right there. And then Lando Lakes, Lando Calrissian, okay. But you notice how they start with this, but then don't really follow up at all on the story of this lady? Well, the long and short is this lady basically got run off of Twitter. And this is where I'm going with this. She basically gets run off of Twitter, not by Popehat, who, by the way, Popehat is a pile of garbage. But that's fine. He didn't do anything other than make a comment on this lady's tweet. The problem is Law Twitter and the orbiters constantly trying to get one of Popehat's pubic hairs stuck between their teeth while gargling his nuts. And trust me, that's how Law Twitter actually functions. Always begging for that attention. Popehat is a super e-thought amongst lawyers. They love this guy. Those people ran this lady off the internet by picking on her and all this stuff. And I've got a bunch of tweets about it. I mean, I don't know. They were sent to me by a friend. Let's see. Here's one. Andrew Lynch. Who, he must be a racist because of his name. F you, Popehat. F you, Popehat minions. F you, all the people that yuckied it up and thought it was funny or somehow karmic, or even said, I don't see what he did was so wrong. F you all. F all of you. Now, again, I don't know that Popehat had anything to do with this other than making an initial tweet. But the point is that Law Twitter is cancer. And they're not above exactly what they complain about. Remember, these people complain that Vic directed his audience to do harassment. Vic did no such thing. No such thing. But the people who orbit Popehat are lawyers and paralegals and people who want to be lawyers and paralegals. They're the ones who ran this lady off the internet. Why? I don't know. I don't know what their deal was. She had to take about butter. Who cares about butter? That's your whole point, is who cares about butter? Yet here you are talking about how horrible she is. I've actually, let's see. I've got the okay, I'm blocked by Popehat, so give me a second. We need an incognito tab for this one. We can actually take a look at the real thing here. Now, look at this. I want to give you guys an idea. Now, Popehat blocks everybody that disagrees with him. Everybody. He is the biggest pussy on the internet. Ken White. He disagreed with me. Gone. Blocked. And I mean mild disagreement. Of course, many of you know this because many of you are already blocked by this giant weeping pile of labia. Okay? You guys know this already. But look at what he did. So, this tweet, Popehat does, 7.4 thousand likes, right? 812 retweets. People really latched onto his take. Remember, Popehat. They love him. They love him. Maybe don't buy it because of the animal cruelty. Miyoko's vegan butter. What the fuck is wrong with you? Don't want to know why people are mad at butter? I mean, I'm glad if they are. There's this one. This isn't unusual at all. Michael Flynn was treated like thousands of other subjects who were interviewed by FBI agents. What does this have? Oh, there's more tweets. Oh, wait. Here we go. Here's the replies. Wait. They're mad because Land O'Lakes removed the Native American woman from the label and just now shows a Land O'Lakes. Chief Fun Officer, plain yogurt. Anyway. Look at the... This had something like, what? How many was it? 462 replies, all trying to get some Popehat cummies. Already have Land O'Lakes butter in my fridge. Do I need to post a look at what you made me do video of burning butter in my backyard fire pit? Yes, you do. Do it. I can't imagine going viral as a person really angry at butter. The point of this, of course, is these people have no problem ganging up on someone. Yet, of course, they do, right? They have problems ganging up on them. Like, if you were to do this to them, they would be mad. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Popehat is garbage. The people who follow Popehat are garbage. That's my thesis. I don't need a hypothesis. I have a thesis. It's not even a hypothesis at that point. At this point. It's a thesis at this point. I'll go on to prove it. All right. Let's get some more whiskey. It's just a true fact, of course. Anyway, the reason I bring it up is, remember, these are the people who are mad and saying that Vic somehow incited his fans to be mean by saying, hey, please go out there and just share positive stories. That's it. That's all Vic ever did. Popehat and the Cummy Guzzlers will drop a snide, sarcastic comment and beg people to latch onto it. Which, for the record, I have no problem with. That's what Twitter's for, in my opinion. The problem is the hypocrisy. That's the issue. Popehat blocks everybody that follows me, just about. The block bot isn't perfect, but it's damn good. It's damn good. He blocks people like crazy. Because they dared to disagree with his royal opinion. Yet here he is. Here he is. Gelth, by the way, Gelth Walker, did you lift up a fat cheerleader? Because the last time I had the same injury as you was when I lifted up a fat cheerleader. Nova Zero says, nah, fam, take my money, you insufferable lawyer dog. How dare the lawyer dog society hang that guy out to dry. And don't worry, Nick. RG is definitely doing... Robute Girly Man. Robo Girly Man is definitely doing your brain. Bolter bitches for Second Amendment. Ah, character limit. Wait. His big titty Eldar girlfriend. If you guys care at all about 40K and aren't watching Major Kill, you're missing out on life. Oh. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's get back to this story. A real legal news story. Damn it. You're gonna get wrapped up in drama. Fucking drama. Always drama. All right. On 20th of August, 2015, in Brevard County, Florida, John DeRosset, 55, shot and severely wounded a sheriff's deputy. Now, pay attention to the details. Him being severely wounded rather than KIA'd in the AO, that makes a big difference in this case, automatically. Dead sheriff's deputy is much harder to fight for your constitutional right than live sheriff's deputy. So just pay attention to the contextual details. That made your day? Lifting up a fat cheerleader did not make my day. The agent was part of a sting operation who were attempting to arrest DeRosset's niece, Mary Ellis, for prostitution. They had set up a controlled environment at a motel, but Mary Ellis did not show up. Listen, ho! Show up at the damn hotel. Quote from FloridaToday.com. Brevard County agents set up a prostitution sting on August 20th, 2015, and arranged to meet DeRosset's niece, Mary Ellis, at a motel. Wait a minute. Can we click on this? This is Mary Ellis, apparently. Oh, hey. She's a cougar, it says. We got to take a... That's Mary Ellis. That's Mary DeRosset. She appears in a courtroom. So that's her. That's your prostitute, apparently. Photos. We got photos of her in court. They should have her working girl photos, right? Like, what is this? What are you even doing to us? Oh. Get some foundation on, damn. This is an ugly prostitute. That's what I'm saying. This guy is not handsome, not a pretty prostitute at all. What is this tattoo picture? Small tattoo of a scorpion on the neck of Mary DeRosset after she was sentenced to 6 months in jail, 18 months of probation for her no contest plea deal for prostitution and resisting arrest. Look, if your hoe doesn't have a neck tattoo, you don't have a proper hoe. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Fred rated 1967 says Nick lifted a fat cheerleader. I didn't know Monica was a cheerleader, let alone went to school with Nick. Buddy. It was them some hard times. I'll have Drexel tell the story. He was there. He knows exactly who I'm talking about. He can give you an accurate assessment. His thought weightometer, his thought scale is far more in tune than mine ever could be. So it was literally shoulder ripped, right? And I set her down because I didn't drop her because the Earth is still maintaining a relatively stable orbit around the sun. Had I dropped her, that would have changed. And then I was out for several weeks. Oh, because I went to the athletic trainer at the school to deal with the injury, and she gave me the literal worst advice I could have gotten. Because I went to an actual doctor who was like, no, don't do that. You need to do the opposite of that. The athletic trainer had told me to not do any chest exercise or any above the shoulder exercise at all. And the doctor's like, no, God, no. You need to rehab the shoulder doing specific exercises and specific lifts to build up the strength of the other things without putting strain on the tendon. And then once I did that, I started to get better. Thank you, college athletic trainers. Fantastic. Why would they have you pick up a fat chick when Drexel was there? No, Drexel wasn't at the... Sorry, I misstated that. Drexel wasn't there, but he knows her because he was a cheerleader later. Okay, anyway. Arranging to meet DeRossett's niece, Mary Ellis, at a motel where a controlled environment had been set up to conduct an arrest. When she didn't show, the 3 deputies in plainclothes went to her Covina Street home in Port St. John, where Agent Peter Stead grabbed Ellis from the doorway while John Casey Smith and Jason Roberts hid in the darkened yard. These are cops. They're in plain clothes. They snatch a chick from a doorway, and then the rest of the cops hide in the... They roll a natural 20s on their hiding in shadows. What the fuck is going on? During their testimony at the immunity hearing, the deputy said it was unusual to go to a suspect's home for a sting operation when a controlled environment had already been established. You fucking think? Listen, ho! You didn't show up at the motel so we could exploit your vagina to arrest men. Get in the fucking car, ho! Can you imagine this? Pimps are in awe right now. They're like, God damn. They donated baby powder to the police department after this. During, when she was grabbed, Ellis began screaming for help from her uncle, who was in a back room eating at the time, according to court records. I'm being literally taken away from my home. I don't know what's going on. Men in normal clothing have grabbed me from the doorway. Help, uncle, help. There was strong evidence DeRossett did not know the men accusing his niece were deputies. None of the deputies were in uniform. His statements immediately after the event and in the hospital were all consistent with the belief that unknown men were attempting to kidnap his niece. He knew his niece had problems with drugs and prostitution. Well, women involved in drugs and prostitution have never ever in the history of man been kidnapped. Why would he think that? DeRossett was retired. He had a concealed carry permit. He had no criminal record. He had taken his niece into his home as a favor to his sister. Petitioner John DeRossett, a 65-year-old retired General Motor Works auto worker, owned a home in Brevard County, Florida. DeRossett's adult niece, Mary Ellis, lived with him in his home. DeRossett had no criminal record, worked part-time as a security guard at Port Canaveral, and lawfully possessed a concealed weapons permit. He'd also apparently taken a firearms training course. Usually you have to do that to get a concealed weapons permit. I don't know if that's true in Florida, but I'm pretty sure it is. On August 20th, 2015, at approximately 9:30 p.m., Ellis answered a knock on the front door. As she opened the door, a man reached inside the threshold of the house, grabbed her arm, and began pulling Ellis out of the home and onto the covered front porch. For what? Listen, bitch. Get to the motel, ho. Like, what are they going to do? Force her into prostitution? Ellis struggled to resist her apparent abduction and screamed to her uncle DeRossett that she needed help. At this point, 2 other men approached to physically assist the first man in pulling Ellis off the porch of the home and into the front yard. Get in the car, bitch. John DeRossett was in the back room eating when he heard her screams. It was dark outside the home. The first shot was when DeRossett fired a warning shot into the air. The men who had accosted his niece, the deputies, then fired at him without identifying themselves. A firefight ensued. One deputy, John Casey Smith, was severely wounded. More than 40 shots were fired. Both John DeRossett and his niece were wounded, but less severely. 40 shots fired. These cops shot him. They shot her, maybe. I don't know if they were shot. It says they were wounded. I assume he was shot. Maybe she just got the strong hand of the law. The homeowner DeRossett was charged with 3 counts of attempted murder of a police officer. Fuck you, Brevard County. Fuck you. For charging this guy Fuck you. Fire the officers. Fire them. They didn't announce it. Police claimed they told the niece they were police officers as they grabbed her. Doubt, but don't doubt the gout. Ba-cha! Right? Don't doubt the gout. She called 911 during or immediately after the firefight and told the dispatcher she did not know who the men who grabbed her were. The deputies had no warrant to arrest Mary Ellis. Now, let me explain this for people who don't understand criminal procedure, because that is many, many people. Cops cannot come to your house and arrest you. They can't come to your employer and arrest you. They can't arrest you on the street unless they have probable cause that the arrest will prevent or is in immediate response to the commission of a certain level of crime, and that the arrest is either for a felony or is necessary to preserve the safety of the public. Okay? So, you don't get to just arrest someone. Otherwise, that's an exemption to the warrant requirement. Let me rephrase this. Police require a warrant to arrest you. The exemption to the warrant requirement is one of exigent circumstances and public safety, similar to the exemptions that exist for search and seizure, right? So, if the idea is that you will vamonos and disappear and the cops won't be able to find you for a crime that they know you commit, they could, in theory, arrest you there. They could arrest you if they witness the commission of a crime and have reasonably articulable suspicion that you might further endanger the public by going ahead and maybe you've got a gun, maybe you just assaulted someone, maybe you're on drugs or alcohol that's impairing your judgment, you're trying to get into a car, or you're on a rampage, you're in some sort of heated rage. They can arrest you then. If they don't know that you have committed a crime that is presently putting the danger in public, they cannot arrest you. They can't just come to your house and put you in handcuffs. This is America. They can't do it. They have to have a warrant, or they have to have some reason that they can take to a judge and say, we had to arrest this person right now. Look, it doesn't matter if you robbed a bank and you stole $10 million cash. You walked out with hundreds of pounds of duffel bags. You held people at gunpoint and all that stuff. Cops can't just come to your house and arrest you for that without a warrant. Now, if you're walking around with a shotgun outside of another bank, they could probably make that arrest. If you're just in your home eating soup or whatever, they can't arrest you. They have to have a warrant for that because they have the time. You're not currently engaged in unlawful activity. They can go to a judge. They can articulate why you need to be arrested, and a warrant can issue, and then you can follow up on it. So some people don't realize this. Cops can't just arrest you. So they can't come into this hoe's house and just pluck her out the doorway. It doesn't work that way. Let's see. Police claim that, criminals often claim to be police to attempt to get compliance. The deputies never told DeRossett they were police. Why would he be under obligation to believe them unless they presented credentials or other convincing proof they were operating under lawful authority? In August of 2018 at trial, his lawyer presented the defense that he was protected by the stand your ground law. The local court found against him, saying that he knew or should have known the people he was shooting at were law enforcement officers. How? How would they do that? I mean, I can answer it because I have the ruling. He appealed to the Federal Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in 2019. The appeals court found the local court had incorrectly made the determination DeRossett should have known the men attacking his niece and him were police officers. Excuse me? Fifth Circuit sent the case back to the local court to determine if a different exception to stand your ground applied. The stand your ground law would not apply if he was furthering criminal activities when the action took place. Local court found against him again. This time, the court claims the stand your ground law did not apply because he knew his niece had used her bedroom to conduct prostitution. But she wasn't conducting prostitution then. In fact, that's the grandest of irony. She was actively not doing the hoeing. She was supposed to go to the motel and do the hoeing, and she didn't do it. And that's why the cops were mad. We told you to hoe for today, and you didn't. DeRossett appealed to the Florida 5th District Court of Appeals again. He stayed in jail until March of 2020 when he was allowed to bond out. Did anybody check this? That's just 5 fucking years. 4.5. 4.5. 4.5 years of his life. When he was allowed to bond out. On 15th of April, the 5th District Court of Appeals dismissed the charges against him. They ruled that mere knowledge that criminal activities such as prostitution had occurred is not furthering criminal activities. Thank God. From clickorlando.com, citing the stand your ground law, the 5th District Court of Appeals dismissed the long-standing charges against Port St. John man accused of shooting a Brevard County Sheriff's deputy during a botched arrest in front of his home in 2015. John DeRossett spent nearly 5 years in jail for defending his niece against attackers who did not identify themselves as police. John DeRossett is a free man today. He is alive. There was a time when many assumed anyone, justified or not, who shot a police officer would be killed by police. It is not true. It is less true today than it used to be. It's not. Don't listen to this article. It is not less true today than it used to be. The sole basis for his freedom is that these cops were not cops in this moment. Had there been one uniformed officer there, had there been one car with cherries flashing, had there be an announcement, we are undercover police officers, please refrain from discharging your weapon, we will work this out, anything like that. Remember, these guys retreated into cover, there was a gunfight, so there was presumably a point where they could say, hey, we're cool, we're cops. We will show you identification. We need to talk. This is about a prostitution thing. They could have done any of these things, and this guy would be in prison forever. Make no mistake. Do not ever take this view. This is a narrowly construed case. If there had been any indication that these guys were cops, any at all, this guy would go away forever. Hold on, we'll get to the next part in just a second. I want to read these super chats because I missed them. Tempest says, question related to Disney, if you haven't answered already. Does the announcement of all female Star Wars cause problems when they cancel other contracts for force majeure clauses? No. No, that doesn't cause problems. Announcing an all-female Star Wars is a huge problem because no one will watch it. What a pile of garbage that movie will be. Dear Christ. Just as an all-male Star Wars would be terrible. Right? Because Hayden Christensen was a shit actor. And Ewan McGregor, under the shit direction, wasn't much better. Even though Ewan McGregor is a good actor. But Hayden Christensen was garbage. The only reason we care at all about Anakin Skywalker is the still stunted relationship between him and Amidala. But that wasn't well executed. It's literally the fact that a woman existed on screen with him. And also having the midriff of her shirt randomly torn off during episode 2 didn't hurt. Didn't hurt at all. But no, that won't cause problems for their force majeure clauses. Lemon Butter says the Land O'Lakes artist was Native American. Some of his nation were sad to see the Butter Lady disappear from the box, while some approved of the change because there are people with different opinions like everybody else. Nope. Lemon Butter, you're wrong. Native Americans only believe what the left wants them to believe. That's it. All right, back to the article. In Houston, police officers have been charged with felony murder in the deaths of an innocent couple. The husband dared to protect his wife and dog against an unannounced home invasion. And dog. The meme is real. If you have dogs and the cops show up, put a fucking vest on the dog. Because Pupper isn't going to make it. He'll be flashbanged harder than Ian Miles. Wait. No. He'll be flashbanged harder than Tara Reid at a frat house. The couple were killed, but the officers are being held accountable. Mistakes occur, error is piled onto error, the world is not perfect. Why, with evidence which was plain from the start, was John DeRossett locked up for nearly 5 years when he was a homeowner, retired, who had no previous criminal record? Will there be a civil suit against Brevard County?
Yes.
Do it, absolutely. You were shot by cops who were in plain clothes and didn't announce themselves. If nothing else, sue them for that. If everything else, sue them for the 5 fucking years you spent in jail. Oh my God. I know Wild Goose's dog was flashbanged, but it was flashbanged by Ian Miles Chong through cop. The agents of the government are not supposed to be our masters. They're supposed to be our servants. When agents of the government act as criminals, they should not be surprised when citizens treat them as criminals. When they disregard due process, they should lose immunity for their actions. This is all true. This is well done. Case shows why stand your ground law was needed. First of all, let me be very clear. I'm a fan of stand your ground laws. But stand your ground laws should not be needed because stand your ground laws merely restate the justifiable use of force in a way that any idiot can understand and with the force of law. Justifiable use of force should be enough without a separate statute to exonerate people who shoot when they need to shoot. You shouldn't need a statute because the idea that you have to run away before shooting is retarded. Warrants are not only to protect the accused. Properly used, they also protect police. If the officer had a warrant, had knocked on the door and presented it, it is highly likely he would not have been shot. Now let's talk about this. Let's talk about this real quick. Let's get rid of the article. Just you and me, girl. Just you and me. We're going to talk about some hoeing. Look. Put another way. Police officers set up sting. They enlist hoe into said sting and say, look, bitch, you got to pretend to get on your back. We need you to lure these men into the room. We need you to collect the money, and then we need you to hit the signal, and we will come in and we will arrest. That's it. That's all you got to do. You don't even need to gargle balls. You don't need to lick a taint. You don't need any of that. You just collect the money up front, give the signal, and we will bust in before that sweaty nutsack hits your chin. We will do it, okay? Listen, that's all we need from you, Mary. That's all we need. However, Mary doesn't show up. Hoeing ain't occurring. Does that make sense? Prostitution wasn't happening. The activity was not present. That means that at that point, the cops have no real reason to go to her house. What they have every reason to do is to say, ring, ring, hello, magistrate. Look, we had a criminal cooperating informant. She's a prostitute. We were using her in a sting operation. And the deal was, if she did some hoeing and helped us arrest some Johns and break up this prostitution ring or whatever, So we could make some arrests, and then we could go ahead and we could find out how they arrange this stuff. Is there a madam or a pimp involved? We could figure out all that stuff, and we could build up a criminal case against some other people that she would be let off when we picked her up last time. She didn't show up at the sting. Now we need an arrest warrant for this girl. Here are the reasons we need it. Back 2 months ago, we tagged this girl on the corner of Grande and Penis, and she was leaning into the window. She approached a vice officer. She offered him sexual activity in exchange for money. He made the exchange. That's at the point we approached her and offered this position. Now we have, can we get a warrant for an arrest? That's it. That's all they had to do. Phone call, warrant gets signed, show up in plain clothes, present the officer. That's it. Or present the warrant to the person. Hey, look, Mary, we've got a warrant for your arrest. Here it is. They don't need a plainclothes officer. What's the reality? What really happened? Let's break this down. You're an officer. You're on Vice. You're in plain clothes. You've been working on this sting. You got the confidential informant. You've dumped company being department money and resources into this. You've developed out your leads. You've built up a criminal informant. You've set up the sting. You guys are all taking risks because you never know when a John's got a gun. You never know if she's going to make contact with some sort of pimp or madam that is going to be connected. So you're going into this thing with a lot of risk. It also could fizzle, and then you've put, how many officers they have? Like 5? You've got 5 officers on payroll wasting department resources. You're going to have to answer to your sergeant or your lieutenant. They're going to be pissed off if you don't bring in some asshole for the expenditure. All that happens. And your hoe doesn't show up. What do? We've just wasted an entire fucking night. I'm going to get reamed out by my commanding officer. The chain of command is going to come down. It's a waste of department resources. I'm going to have a bunch of paperwork to do. So you go to her house and grab that bitch by the hair and you drag her ass out in her little booty shorts and you're going to shove her in your car and you're going to drive her to the damn motel and she is going to eat the dick. God damn it. Because that's what you're there to do that night. That's what they were doing. That is absolutely what they were doing. Of course, it was what they were doing. They weren't affecting an arrest. They were pissed. They were pissed off. She blew off the sting operation that had to get approvals. It had paperwork. It's going to have more paperwork. They were trying to grab her. They were going to take her to the hotel and make her do the thing. Of course. That's why they're in plain clothes. That's why they went directly over from the motel. What the hell else are they going to do? You're just mad. You can't be mad like this as a cop. You can't do it. They're lucky to live. They're lucky to live. Imagine if that guy had an AR. That's it. That's all it would have been. That would have been 5 body bags. He would have gone away for life. Anyway. So there's that one. I don't know if it's worth going through the PDF here. Hold on. Get rid of these damn things. Oh, come on. This is a court of appeals. This 20 pages. We're not going to read it word for word. Let's skim it. In 1892, the Florida Supreme Court explained that one's home is the defense is the castle of defense for himself and his family, and that an assault upon it with an intent to injure him or any of them may be met the same way as an assault upon himself or any of them, that he may meet the assailant at the threshold and use the necessary force for his and their protection against the threat and invasion and harm. Wilson versus State. That's not the U.S. case. I wonder if they're going to cite the U.S. case. I'll see if... I don't remember the citation off the top of my head, but when I'll know it when I see it, like the Supreme Court in porn. What happened in the case? Let's see. Let's read the facts as they have them. On August 20th, Ellis answered a knock on the front door. As she opened the door, a man reached inside the threshold, grabbed her arm, began pulling her out on the covered front porch. Ellis struggled to resist the apparent abduction and screamed to her uncle that she needed help. 2 other men approached to physically assist the first man in pulling her off the front porch and into the front yard. He heard the niece's screams for help, hurried into his bedroom to the front porch. From his bedroom to the front porch, he was armed. One of the 3 men saw him rapidly advancing to the front door with his firearm and announced to the other 2 men that a man with a gun was approaching. He's got a gun! The 3 men abruptly release Ellis, pushing her toward the front door and scattered on the front lawn. DeRosset immediately came out of his front door and stood under the canopy part of the porch. At this point, he raised his gun, called out to the men, and fired a warning shot up in the air. The 3 men, now at diverse points on DeRosset's front yard and likewise armed, immediately shot their respective firearms at him. They should all go to prison for this. That's enough. That's enough. He goes, boom. He doesn't shoot at them. Boom. Into the air. They should go to prison immediately. What the fuck is this? He shoots in the air to let them know he's got a gun. He's just trying to scare them off. By the way, in your concealed carry training, they will tell you the opposite. If you draw the gun, only draw the gun if you intend to destroy the target. Only draw the gun if you intend to destroy the target. If you don't intend to destroy the target, don't draw the gun. This simple rule. Very easy for most people to follow. If you're gonna shoot, pull the gun and shoot. Don't pull the gun. Don't fire a warning shot. Warning shot equals you in a body bag. DeRosset fired back. So he's firing literally in self-defense because he's trying to be a good guy here. Boom, boom. Shoot. Go away. Boom. I've got a gun. Go away. I mean to use it. Go away. Hey, cops, let's shoot this asshole. In total, more than 40 rounds were exchanged. Despite being fairly close to each other because it was dark at the time, none of the 4 men engaged in this incident had a clear view of the others. DeRosset and his niece were both struck by gunfire, as was one of the good job cops. And that just goes to it too. Cops' marksmanship is legendarily bad. Legendarily bad. And that's not an indictment of cops. That's a notice to you firearm owners. These are cops. They are trained. They have marksmanship training. They have high pressure marksmanship training. They have all sorts of courses helping them cope with the strain and stress of a situation. And they're still bad shots. Okay? So are you. I want to point this out. So are you. You can be a great shot all day at the range. You can hit a target 40 yards downrange with a handgun. You can be great. You can put 2 in the center mass and 1 in the penis all day long. The moment you're shooting at people who are moving, when you're under stress, when they're shooting at you, your reaction sucks. Your aim sucks. Be careful. Compensate for it. Train for it. Do the things that the cops do. But even the cops suck at shooting under pressure. All right. Let's see. As was one of 3 men in DeRosset's yard who was severely wounded in the abdomen. Shot him right in the stomach. DeRosset's rights that evening under Florida's statutory standard ground law. In 2005, the Florida legislature enacted a number of statutes that codified and strengthened individuals' rights to defend themselves. Here's a standard ground. Home protection, use or threatened use of deadly force, presumption of fear or death or great bodily harm. A person is presumed to have held a reasonable fear of imminent peril or of death or great bodily harm to himself or herself or another when using or threatening to use defensive force that is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily injury to another great bodily harm to another if the person against whom the defensive force was used or threatened was in the process of unlawfully and forcefully entering or had unlawfully and forcibly entered a dwelling, residence, or occupied vehicle, or if that person had removed or was attempting to remove another against that person's will from the dwelling, residence, or occupied vehicle. And here it is. This puts it directly under the statute. These cops, without a warrant and without any probable cause to believe that criminal activity was going on, reached in, grabbed a hoe, and tried to drag her out. That's it. They're from the Grab-a-Hoe tribe. They need to get got. That's what happened. So then the person who uses or threatens to use defensive force knew or had reason to believe that an unlawful enforceable entry or unlawful enforceable act was occurring or had occurred. Of course. Person who unlawfully and by force enters or attempts to enter a person's dwelling, residence, or occupied vehicle is presumed to be doing so with the intent to commit an unlawful act involving force or violence. As used in this section, here's dwelling and residence. Plain language of the above-cited portions arguably evinces that the actions taken by Darasset that evening were well within his statutory right to stand his ground. Notably, Darasset was in his dwelling with his niece, who was also a resident there. The first man reached inside the threshold of the front door and forcibly removed Ellis from the home. The three men were then standing immediately on the attached porch, where they removed Ellis onto the yard against her will. Thus, these men had just been in Dorset's dwelling, as that term is defined in section whatever, and had removed Ellis. Moreover, their collective actions in first reaching inside the threshold of the front door and forcibly removing Ellis from the home, and then in physically removing Ellis off the front porch, were presumed to have been done with the intent to commit an unlawful act involving force or violence. And not only were they presumed, they were unlawful. Let's be very clear. They had no reason to do this. They didn't have any justification for their actions. Next, Darasset, as a person using a defensive force, had reason to believe that an unlawful enforceable act had just occurred to his niece. Thus, Darasset was entitled to the presumption that he had a reasonable fear of imminent peril of death or great bodily harm to his niece. Now, here's the sad truth. These are cops, but there may have actually been imminent peril of death or great bodily harm. Because the Grab-a-Hoe tribe becomes the Slap-a-Hoe tribe really fucking quick. Really quick. If you think cops see prostitutes that they're going to use for a sting as anything other than a tool, they're just as mad as a pimp would be. They were literally her pimp for the night. It's human nature. She is a tool to them. You think these guys weren't going to rough her up a little bit? Why are they even there? Why are they even at the house? They're not there to do good, to quote The Raid. They're not here to do good. They're not there to grab her and arrest her and take her downtown. They're there to drag her to that motel. On the way to the motel, is she going to get a little bit of treatment? 4 across the jaw? I don't know. Maybe they'll just hit her with a phone book. Maybe they'll punch her in the stomach. Wouldn't want the bruises showing up. This chick was in literal peril. Literal peril. For death or great bodily harm. Of course she was. You've got heated, angry dudes. They're pissed off at her. She's a tool to them. Not saying all cops are bad. I'm really not. I'm not even saying these cops are bad. I'm saying these cops were in a bad state of mind to do what they were doing. None of this makes sense. Remember, the guy fires a warning shot in the air. They immediately pull their guns and shoot at him. That's their go-to? These guys are not in the right state of mind to do this. Let's see. When he first fired his warning shot as part of a rapid sequence of ongoing events, beginning with the removal of Ellis from his dwelling against their will. Lastly, and not insignificantly, assuming for the sake of argument that the alleged abduction or kidnapping had ended with when the three men Cognizant that Darasset was quickly coming to his front door with a firearm. Okay, so it's 3 men. Released her and scattered onto the front yard. Darasset had no duty to retreat. He was within his rights to use the deadly defensive force that he used seconds later because the 3 men had removed his niece from the home against her will, and Darasset knew or had reason to believe this unlawful or forcible act against his niece had occurred. So why is Darasset being prosecuted? Although Stand Your Ground was seemingly written both to justify and authorize the actions Darasset took that evening based on the circumstances that he faced, he is presently being prosecuted. The state filed an information charging Darasset with 1 count of attempted premeditated first-degree murder of a law enforcement officer while discharging a firearm and inflicting great bodily harm, and 2 separate counts of attempted premeditated first-degree murder of a law enforcement officer while discharging a firearm. Let me just be clear. People get first-degree premeditation wrong all the time. They think that the premeditation involves like an elaborate plan, a plot or scheme to kill someone. But premeditation happens literally in the moment it takes for you to raise your gun, point at someone, and fire it. If you're doing an act with the intention of killing others, that is sufficient premeditation for first-degree murder. They don't always charge it that way. But that is sufficient. It is literally a moment. It is such that you are conscious of your actions, and the consequence of that action is the death of the other person. That is premeditation. Now, second and third degree murder tends to remove that conscious of your actions perspective. Like you're firing blindly, you don't know where someone is. But if you are pointing a gun at someone that you can see and pulling the trigger, that premeditation happens in the moment before your hand touches the trigger and pulls back on it. So, just so you guys know how that works. The 3 men who came to Darasset's home that night were in fact deputy sheriffs of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office Special Investigations Unit, conducting a sting operation directed at Ellis, whom they believed had been performing acts of prostitution in Darasset's home. They arrived at the home in unmarked vehicles and parked on the street away from the home. The deputy who first approached the home posed as Ellis's customer and was in plain clothes. Oh, even better. So they had hired her to show up at the motel. She was the sting, and she didn't. That's beautiful. Deputies would later testify that it was extremely rare for this type of undercover operation to be conducted at a home due to concerns for officer safety. However, because Ellis had been arrested for prostitution approximately 1 month earlier without incident, the deputy in charge of the operation was not as concerned that the situation would turn violent. So they were going after her. Here I am, naively thinking they're going after Johns. Turns out they're going after the chick. So it was a sting to get her to the motel so they could pretend to hire her. The deputy who first approached the home posed as Ellis's customer was in plain clothes. He had made arrangement with Ellis earlier that day to meet and engage in sexual act with her for her money. Deputy was the individual whom Ellis first greeted at the door as her anticipated customer and who then entered the home by grabbing Ellis and pulling her out of the dwelling. So she didn't show up at the motel. She didn't show up to do the crime. So he's going to arrest her for not doing the crime. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. The other 2 deputies were not in uniform and were the individuals who assisted the first deputy in attempting to subdue the now screaming Ellis in order to make the warrantless late night arrest for solicitation of prostitution. Let's see what they say. Solicitation of prostitution is a misdemeanor unless it is for third or subsequent violation, at which point it becomes a third-degree felony. We know it's only a second violation, according to the facts at this point. So it's a misdemeanor. This is over a misdemeanor. This goes back to my point. I've often said it. Every law passed ends at the barrel of the gun. Every law. No matter how innocuous, no matter how low the offense is, this is a misdemeanor for her. From all the facts we know. The facts we know are that she was arrested 1 month prior. So that's 1 count of prostitution. This would be the second. Still a misdemeanor, which means a maximum of 90 days in jail and somewhere between a $1,000 and $5,000 fine. I don't know what Florida misdemeanor statutes would put that at. But a maximum of 90 days in jail and a $1,000 to $5,000 fine. Second offense in a month? Is she going to get 90 in jail? Not normally. Not normally. She's going to get maybe 30 days, probably with credit for time served. She's going to be able to, I mean, if you're negotiating a plea deal on a second offense, I mean, she's not going to get 90 days. No way. Anyway, maybe she could have a bigger criminal history. That could change things. Sorry. As previously indicated, the 3 deputies removed her from the porch in the front yard, but scattered into the yard when one of the deputies noticed that DeRossett was rapidly approaching with his gun. The consistent testimony at the later evidentiary hearing from Ellis, DeRossett, and the 3 deputies was that DeRossett's warning shot and the immediate exchange of gunfire between DeRossett and the 3 deputies thereafter essentially took place within seconds after the deputies had scattered on the lawn. Although DeRossett was at his home, he is being prosecuted because a person's authority to stand his or her ground at home with defensive deadly force is not absolute. Significantly, the presumptions contained in the section in favor of a person such as him using deadly force at his dwelling against a person or persons who had just forcibly entered and removed the family member from the dwelling do not apply under subparagraph 2 under the statute if, for among other reasons, furthering a criminal activity. We talked about that. And then section D, the person against whom the defensive force is used or threatened is a law enforcement officer who enters or attempts to enter a dwelling, residence, or vehicle in the performance of his or her official duties, and the officer identified himself or herself in accordance with any applicable law, or the person using a threatening to use the force knew or reasonably should have known that the person entering or attempted to enter was a law enforcement officer. So they didn't announce, and he had no reason to know. Spectre, you're pissed that this guy spent 5 years in jail? Me too. Hashtag me too. DeRossett was not justified in using deadly force against the 3 men whom he believed he had just seconds earlier forcibly abducted his niece if he knew or should have known them to be law enforcement officers. Nor was he entitled to use such deadly force if he was using his home to further his niece's prostitution activity. Right, and that's true. If he knew they were cops, I'm telling you guys, this is the danger of that article. If you know it's a cop, you cannot use deadly force. Even if the cop is wrong, you can't. That's the scary thing. Now, there is a theoretical possibility that a police officer acting outside of his duties, even though he's dressed up like an officer and announces, puts you in a position of life or death, in fear of death, that you could potentially use justifiable homicide. But if he's in the commission of his duties and it's a cop, you can't use it. Even if he's wrong. Don't do it. Don't think that you can shoot a cop. You can't. This guy's the 1 in a million. So next, let's see. Stand your ground motion hearing the trial court's order. After taking a number of depositions, DeRossett filed what is commonly referred to as a stand your ground motion. This is the thing that people don't understand because Florida sheriffs some of them are complete cucks, and they misstate how the law works. Stand your ground is not a reason for a Florida officer to not arrest someone or to not charge someone. Stand your ground is an affirmative defense that you file in court. It is not a defense you make on the street. If you do a stand your ground and you shoot someone, you should expect to be arrested. You should expect for them to confiscate your guns, and you should expect to be charged with some level of murder or manslaughter. Even if you are entirely justified, stand your ground is a motion that you file after charges are brought. Now, famously, that guy who defended the handicap parking spot down in Florida, the officer in Pinellas County didn't want to arrest him because of, quote, stand your ground. That was a political move by that sheriff. That's not how stand your ground works. Stand your ground is an affirmative defense. You make a motion, a pre-trial motion prior to a lot of things happening in the case. It's almost like a TCPA or an anti-SLAPP provision. And you say, I was justified in doing it and I can prove the justification. And the trick with stand your ground is it shifts the burden. Normally, the prosecutor has to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that you did the thing, right? Stand your ground provides a lower standard, but it puts the burden on the defendant, on the criminal defendant, to prove his innocence I don't know if it's preponderance of the evidence or if it's a clear and convincing evidence standard. I'm not sure. It's not beyond any reasonable doubt, but you have to prove your innocence as the defendant rather than simply deflecting the guilt. You have to prove you are innocent to some particular standard. It may show in just a minute. In other words, DeRosset's use of deadly force was done in compliance with with the statutes. Then he is not criminally liable for his act. Trial court had a 5-day evidentiary hearing on his motion, with DeRosset, Ellis, and the 3 deputies, along with many other law enforcement officers, testifying in this hearing. Why are there any other law enforcement officers there? DeRosset's position, his motion, and his testimony at the hearing were clear. When he fired the first warning shot and thereafter, he had no idea who the men were, that the men were law enforcement officers. Preliminarily, DeRosset readily concedes that a person is not entitled to immunity for knowingly shooting at law enforcement. It was very dark. Neither prior to his warning shot nor after the deputy started shooting at him did any of them identify themselves as law enforcement officers. Ironically, one of DeRosset's neighbors is a high-ranking law enforcement officer with Brevard County Sheriff's Office. Came outside from his house after he heard the gunfire. After the shooting had ended, this neighbor was the individual who took DeRosset to the ground after DeRosset and his niece came out of the home to surrender to law enforcement. This puzzled DeRosset as he repeatedly asked his neighbor why he was taking such action when there were 3 individuals who were trying to kidnap his niece. Thereafter, during the trip to the hospital to treat his injuries, DeRosset pointedly told one of the deputies in the ambulance, "I shot in self-defense. Who would shoot a cop?" Finally, at least 2 of the 3 deputies confirmed in their respective testimony at the hearing that they had not announced to DeRosset that they were law enforcement officers. 2 also testified that they did not hear the 3rd deputy make such an announcement, if he did at all. So one of them even lied. This statement is fascinating. Fascinating. If cops are unwilling to back up the other cop, and it's to this extent, look, I mean, maybe he said it, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. He lied. That's a lie. What a piece of shit. What a piece of shit. Trial court held that DeRosset was not entitled to the presumption of being in reasonable fear because the deputies had not entered the home, nor were they in the process of doing so. Crossing the threshold, that's reaching into the doorway, that is an entry. You don't have to have your full body in the home to enter into a home. If he had tried to glory hole her through a plywood door, right? That's still entering the home because his penis is in. And they had not removed Miss Ellis from her home, nor were they in the process of attempting to do so. That's weird that they would find that when clearly they were. Relying upon these findings as well as facts, they scattered, and DeRosset fired his warning shot into the air. And that in a post-arrest statement to law enforcement, he said that his niece was inside the home when he first shot. Court denied the motion, finding that DeRosset had used deadly force in response to a non-existent threat. So, probably not going to go through all of this. So this is an interesting thing. He says, she went inside the house, I believe. Okay, but then I believe she came back out. Looks like they're taking that deposition statement or that testimony. This is a deposition statement out of context. Always get a lawyer to talk to the cops. If you're ever involved in a shooting, get a lawyer. Get a lawyer to help you. This guy's lucky. Ellis testified she was outside the home when he fired the warning shot. You don't know. Like you literally are incapable of knowing what happened following an incident like this. Your adrenaline is up. Your body is flooded with all sorts of hormones that are not conducive to short-term memory. You need to wait. You need to have a counselor who is versed in the law and the risks that you are undertaking assist you in this questioning. You cannot. Now, I'm sure, shot cop, these guys are putting tons of pressure on this guy to talk right then. But you really need to get a lawyer because he should not have answered this way. He should have gotten the story straight. Do you know she went in the house? I don't know. I mean, I don't remember. Everything happened so fast. Then you don't know. Last thing you know, she was taken out of the house. Was she in the house or out of the house when you fired? I don't know. Exactly. You don't know. You don't know where it was. It was confusing. You went out because some men grabbed your niece from the door and were dragging her away, right? Yeah. Then don't say she went back in the house unless you know for a fucking fact she went back in the house. Always, always, always ask for a lawyer. Standard of review analysis. Following reasons, we conclude that factual findings made in the court and its order were not supported by competent substantial evidence. Deputies neither entered the home nor removed Ellis from the home were not supported by any evidence. Unsupported factual findings led the trial court to its legal conclusion that he was not entitled to presumption. The court's apparent interpretation does not comport with the statute's plain language. Undisputed rapid events that happened and were happening at Dorasset's house that night did not occur in a vacuum. There's no other evidence presented at this hearing other than the fact that the forcible taking of Ellis from the home had just occurred and that Dorasset knew, or at the very least, had reason to know that it had just occurred. Accordingly, we held the trial court's factual findings were not supported by competent substantial evidence and its legal conclusion was inconsistent with the plain language. However, for reasons more fully discussed below, we presently withhold the issuance of a writ of prohibition and relinquish jurisdiction to the trial court with directions that the court specifically addressed at a subsequent hearing whether either of the two exemptions under the section apply to preclude Dorasset from being entitled to immunity from prosecution. Understand your ground for his otherwise justified use of deadly force. So they still punted on this, even after all this. Let's see. Once a defendant raises a prima facie claim of self-defense immunity under the statute, the state bears the burden at the pretrial immunity or stand your ground hearing of proving by clear and convincing evidence why the defendant is not entitled to immunity. Okay, so I wasn't entirely correct in how I stated it, but here it is. You have to make a prima facie showing of stand your ground, and then the state has a clear and convincing standard. Clear and convincing, you can think of as between 60 and 75% proof. Not beyond any reasonable doubt. That's 99.9%, right? Proof of the crime. But about 60 to 75%. They have to go above that. It's above the preponderance of evidence, which is 51%, but it's below beyond any reasonable doubt. So it's about, like I said, 60 to 65 to 70, 60 to 75%, somewhere in there. The incident at his home led to the instant prosecution occurred on August 20th, which predates the 2017 amendment that added the aforementioned subparagraph 4. So in a criminal prosecution, once a prima facie claim of self-defense immunity from criminal prosecution has been raised. Oh, so that's the new statute. The evidentiary hearing did not take place until August 2018 after the statutory amendment. At the time of this hearing, 2 of our sister courts had ruled that this applied prospectively only. Thus, for immunity claims under the statute that occurred prior, defendant continued to bear the burden of establishing his or her entitlement to immunity under the preponderance of the evidence standard as previously determined. Oh, I was actually right. Go me. So for him, he had to prove by preponderance of the evidence that he was actually entitled to the immunity. Preponderance of the evidence standard for the defendant. Now the defendant merely needs to raise a prima facie showing, and then the burden shifts back to the prosecution. So they've made it more lenient now in the interim. So that's that. I think we're about done. So they remanded it back to the trial court to hold a hearing consistent with this opinion. The court shall issue its order within 60 days of this opinion and contemporaneously transmit its order to the court. So 60 days and he gets to go. He's still charged. He hasn't actually been exonerated yet. They just found out that the legal conclusions of the court were impossible based on the evidence and sent it back saying, you did it all wrong, you fucking idiots. Redo it. So now this guy's out on bail after 5 years. He could still end up being found guilty, technically speaking. Oh, he the second one from this year. Okay, so he's since been exonerated. All right. At the time of this thing, thank you, Spectre, for clarifying. But at the time of this hearing, it was just remanded back. So that's great. Perception Check says, I hope to God there is some high-powered team of attorneys willing to take this case on contingency to sue Brevard County into extinction. Oh, his criminal defense attorneys are probably going to do that. If I had to guess. They'll be happy to probably be happy to take a 1983 claim straight to the federal courts and blast them for this stuff, because that's crazy talk. All right, guys, what I'm going to do now is we're going to go through the super chats and then wrap up the show, and then I'm going to go on Steam to play some Space Hulk Deathwing with some members of my Discord. So that should be a fun time. Come and hang out on Twitch for Space Hulk Deathwing. And we'll see how well I do with the liquor. Let me read these super chats, though, and then we'll wrap up the show. Again, come tomorrow for the stream with Drexel, Streets of Rage 4 on my alternate channel. I will post links all over the place. If you haven't already subscribed to Rekieta Media, subscribe and hit the notification bell. I don't upload a ton of videos on there, so you won't get bogged down by notifications, but make sure you get notified on the live streams that we do. All right. Farah says, thank goodness it's just you tonight. I'm happy you're enjoying your new whiskey. Hugs. Oh, do you not like the interview shows? Give me the anime Milky says, please go on the Dick Show and explain why stay-at-home orders are unconstitutional to Scone. Who the fuck is Scone? Revox says, can you explain the legalities of listening in on unauthorized Zoom calls, such as what our buddy Mark DeStefano did? There is a criminal action, but is there is there a civil action that can be taken against him? Do you think he will be charged? Thanks, Maork. Oak, please. That's our word. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the situation. Did he hack into it or something? Listening in on unauthorized Zoom calls. I mean, it's a general invasion of privacy. If there's an expectation of privacy and someone jumps in, I don't know the situation. I'll have to look into it. Why didn't I do the interview live? Because my man Jeff wasn't able to do a live interview when I do a live show. He has to work at like 6 in the morning. Dick Pound says, N-words out here trying to use anime to talk about slavery and shit like STFU. I just want to watch cute Nico girls go to the beach. Damn. Love you, big guy. I really vibe with these shoot the shit type streams. Well, I'm glad you do. Thank you, Dick Pound. Jay says, RE Law Twitter. Popehat blocked myself and a dozen other scientists because he made erroneous statements regarding stereotypes and couldn't take the correction. He then proceeded to make snide comments behind the blocks. Snowflakes indeed. Oh yeah, Popehat fires from behind the wall all day. He's such a pussy. Ugh. How can you build your career fighting the government and be too soft to take criticism on Twitter? What a baby. KCDC East vs. West says, two goddamn gentlemen, not a comic, a podcast, son. Oh, watch for it like Monica watches for Ron's clicker hand, like Ron watches for the new smells on/in Monica. All right, guys, watch for the podcast. Two goddamn gentlemen. I apologize for calling it a comic. The podcast. Two goddamn gentlemen. Pingus Pounder says, my grandfather's son never pursed his lips against my growler. That's good. DJ Fantasy says, love the show. I sent you a Twitter DM. Hose mad AF. I'll check it out, buddy. Gawker's Death Rattle says, every passing day, Nick looks more like Tom Green. Oh, man. That's not good. That's not good. Sean H says, hey, Nick, why did you ruin DSP's ears? Bugged ear mechanics. Bugged ear mechanics, dude. I don't know why the detractors. Oh, his A's. His A's are awful. Afroman John says, any chance you can get a mod that turns enemies into thoughts for tomorrow's Streets of Rage Fest? I don't know that there'll be any out that quick. We'll have to see. But it would be great to uppercut some thoughts, wouldn't it? Bad Dragonite says, give it the straw test. Mr. Leon says, that awkward moment when your friend from years ago starts a trending controversy on Twitter about orcs being problematic. Oh no, is that your buddy? No! Oh, man. What happened to him? And it's orcs, please. Orcs is our word. Keck7Go says, I sexually identify as a DSP detractor. We know, Keck. Quacky Boy says, will the stream tomorrow be archived? If so, where can I find it afterwards? You can find it on the Rekieta Media channel. It'll be archived. It's gonna go live like normal over there, and it'll be saved on that channel. No One Important says, I just got done rewatching the Shane stream. Oh, man. And it was just as amazing and painful as I remember, especially his gotcha moment. We need more dummies like him for you to Rekieta them. It's hard to find people. And I don't actually like doing it. I mean, it's refreshing and rewarding when it happens, but I don't seek out the confrontation. Stooge Muffin Stuffin says, trim your beard, Nick. You look like a bum. Hashtag Rekieta bum. I can't. You have to know how long Corona's going. You have to know. I'm a man of the people, and the people need to know. Batgoat says, why am I exist? We'll sell t-shirts. Okay. Dominus Ex Machina. Dominus Ex Machina says, here's $10 in Trump bucks to add to Vic and Ty's war chest. And speaking of whiskey, have you tried Wild Turkey Long Branch yet? No, I've not. I've only tried Wild Turkey and Wild Turkey 101. Is Long Branch good? Pro Hero All Might says, shave please. Your beard just winked at the chat. Listen. The beard and the chat make their own decisions. O'Malley Caboose 5 says, been out a while. Why are you growing Ron Swanson on your face? I mean, it looks good. It's just surprising. It's the Corona beard. It's Corona-chan. I'm keeping track of the days by the length of the hair. I'm doing everything I can not to bite my mustache, because that cuts the length down. We want the full. I want my mustache down below my chin by the time this is over. Decker Ramirez says, the emojis in my previous super chat were supposed to mean bitchy attitude. That lion was actually a poodle. Tried too hard to be clever. It's hard to see, but thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Gotcha Son says, preach Nikki, lol, missiles out of holes. Tyrannosaurus Rex says, we want our Coctimus Prime and Auto Thoughts without all the dumb modern day politics. Foodabots, roll out. It's time to take Marcytron down. Markytron? I agree. Timothy Reaper says in Dr. Evil voice, 760 million. I can't do it. I haven't listened to Dr. Evil in so long. $760 million. I mean, it's been a long time since I've heard Mike Myers' voice. Aw, he no longer calls. Esme says, Nick, you're missed. In Kermit Yeller voice, get the fook out of here. I'm watching Naruto. Thanks, Banana Stand Money. Thank you. Irie Ice 36 says, Nick, I live in Copenhagen, and there is no issues with travel in Denmark. There are restrictions, but they are not as tyrannical and dumb as in America. Man. Shiruyu says, your thoughts on Mark DeStefano's case? Did he commit corporate espionage? I don't know. I'm not familiar with this at all. Abby Gent says, I know this has nothing to do with your stream, but do you know who Onision is? Yes. If so, what are your thoughts on what he's done? I don't have very many. I haven't looked into what he's done. I'm just kind of familiar briefly with who he is. But I will say freaking out at the internet isn't the best plan. Quantum Video says, thoughts and Pelosi talking about universal basic income. Is it good or bad? What do you think and why? I think universal basic income is bad in general. I don't think it's a good idea to just give people money for nothing. The transfer of or the creation of money without the requisite exchange of goods is not, or labor is not a beneficial thing. That's how we increase inflation. I'm not a big fan. Andrew War Snowboard says, where should I stay if I go to Matsuri? One of the hotels near there. They have several hotels. I think the 5 hotels in the area are reserved for Matsuri. Sam says, hey, any idea on when we might get an update on Phil's filings? Also, would you consider yourself an official detractor now? Well, we briefly covered the amendment on the Phil stream on Monday. If there's, I don't know that they need a separate video. If there's something new, I will take a look and see. I'm not an official detractor. Phil could be misunderstood. I'm keeping an open mind. I mean, I'm making fun of him because he's on the internet. And if you're on the internet, you deserve to be made fun of. I'm not exempt from this. I don't see why he should be. But, I don't know. Maybe he's got an explanation. I would love to hear it. I'd love to hear his explanations. Where'd the money go? What's the $5,000 per month in business costs, not just your personal expenses? What are these things? Where's the money? How's your PayPal at zero when you get $100 a stream from the vest alone? From the vest alone, he's got 26 days, 52 shows, $5,200 in less than a month. Where is it? Where's that money? I want to know where that stuff is. All-Star Apologist says, how much do I need to pay to watch you and Drex play Windjammers? I don't know what Windjammers is. Automata says, it's less than what I normally do, but what I normally do is too much. Rackets 2020. I don't know what that is. Oh, that's in response to the whiskey, but it's true in all things. Dan Turla says, in Jean-Luc Picard's voice, can you say, you cannot explain away a wantonly immoral act because you think it is connected to some higher purpose. I don't think that was Jean-Luc Picard. God, it's been a long time for that too. It was not good. Sorry. Trouble Lord, upgraded to Super Lawyer. Welcome to it. Hey, if you're upgrading to Super Lawyer or joining at Super Lawyer, make sure you go. That was more like Cell. Damn it. Bane? That was Bane. Oh no! I haven't listened to Picard in so long. I used to do a Picard voice. I'll go find it. If you're upgrading to Super Lawyer or joining as Super Lawyer, make sure you go and find the community post on how to join the Discord. It's on there. Kidda says, the son of the artist who did the Land O'Lakes Butter Maiden has an editorial in the WAPO today. He's a Native American and offended at the outrage. Sounds good. Mofox says, first super chat, hey, thank you. Sad that Popehat is such an asshat. Now such an asshat. Ironically, guy who drew that Native American woman logo was a Native American. Check DM for link. Malik Foxon says, hold up. Can't just drop that on us and not explain the imagery. Drexel cheerleader. You didn't even pick at it. And it was prime. Explain later with Drex. We've already explained it. Drexel was a cheerleader just like I was. Just like Lady Rackets was. We were all cheerleaders together in a super homoerotic session. Common Sense America says, that's the country I live in, and you're pronouncing the country... Oh, county. County I live in. You're pronouncing the county's name wrong. It's pronounced Brevard. Brevard? Not Brevard? Damn it. The DCV Titan says, your warning shot should be one to the center mass of the first target. If the others don't get the warning, work your way down the line. Next, Stormcrow 900 says, every concealed carry class and Second Amendment lawyer will say, do not fire warning shots. If you fire a warning shot, it means you are not in danger of your life, etc. The court will fry you for it. True. Stormcrow 900 says, my bad. What I said is for Virginia law. Forgot every state is different. They're not that different, though. They're not that different. Afroman John says, never forget the government will murder you for PR. Andrew Shaver says, been taking a little time off lately, Nikki. Working on your OnlyFans account, huh? No, I did 3 5-hour shows. The last 3 shows were 5 hours each. It's just tiring, and it's hard to come up with the content to cover the next show. Plus, it's a lot. That's all. I'm not complaining, but yesterday I just had done a 5-hour stream the night before, and I didn't have a great show put together, and I didn't want to do a show if it wasn't going to be good. I just didn't have anything to talk about. So, Cal Clay says, can Colleen Ballinger face law for grooming UK kid? I don't know who Colleen Ballinger is. Yes, we'll say that. DCV Titan says, going to pass on Twitch tonight and go watch the RGE 24-hour stream at the end of the Blade Devil campaign. Oh, good luck. Enjoy. My props to RGE, and I hope he does really well. 24-hour streams are tough, so support him for that. Smiles DeCat says, you're starting to look like a Civil War general. Okay. BK says, but Nick, have you considered if we get money for nothing, we'll also get our chicks for free? I hope you and your family are doing well. Cheers, 3/4 Nick. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Siren Jag says, Rackets, my pharmacist job cut my hours by 25%, so I have to make the hard decisions. So no more $20 chats till you trim that neck. Sorry, man. Hey, we're all in this together, fam. Don't apologize. Don't ever apologize for not giving me money. I'm just a law thought. That's all. All right, guys. That's what we have. And now something that hasn't been done in a while. Let's get that outro playing. Let's get that outro playing. Thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. We're wrapping up the show. Make sure you come by the other channel, Rekieta Media, tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have Drexel. We will have Streets of Rage 4. I don't know when it's going to start. It may very well be before 11. It will probably be many hours long, as I'm going to press for us to beat the damn game. So that's going to be the goal. You got to sit down. It's a beat 'em up. You got to go as far as you can, and we're going to try and beat the game. Let's see how we do. Let's see how it goes. I will be playing Max Thunder, the only character in Streets of Rage that matters. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me tonight. Hope you guys have a good night. Enjoy the song, and we will talk to you soon. Peace. Peace.
With the grace of one who has borne many children, as the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an art, beg a bow, more a love rug. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear Lost Planning tonight. From the white shores of Nam to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Dante to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear Lost Planning tonight. From the white shores of Nam to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now.